Great. No, wait, we have for both my kids. Yeah. No band. I actually left my band. Out there with it. That's mine. Just who's gonna find on? Yeah, sure. So I saw Saturday, not leave, and then.
I'll be there.
And then, oh, you are, okay.
Well, no, I'll be at.
And I just do a guy.
Oh, really?
Just an hour.
Is this yours? Yeah, I don't love using this, but I'm using it.
Yes.
And I don't use it otherwise at all, so I just sort of
Right,
upload
same,
it.
I just don't plug it in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, right. But mention that to
Flag is up. We didn't do a ceremony, we had never have done a ceremony for that. And I.
Somebody told me to put up a flag.
Anybody that raises flags, you know, that flag of the United States of Australia. The highest.
Everyone knows that, but apparently, one of the W flag, that's the highest.
Not too fast.
You got it.
That's the third flag.
Okay. So we're just taking care of it. Okay.
No, it's actually good to do. And then I'll go back.
Oh, you're paying the big contribution.
I'll motion
Makes sense.
How's it going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's right around this. In executive session.
Yeah, nobody's.
That's fine, yeah. Maybe two. Or three. But they've gone pretty well.
Hey, yes, yes, and this.
Yeah. No, I'm good. Fine.
How's it going, guys?
Doing very well.
I don't know. She got into it. Hey, how you doing?
That's the one.
Yeah, yeah, right.
They're very. Yeah.
No. How was Delaware? Good? Nice time.
That's what money you pay, so that's a practice, right? Face. Where would you like to play?
I'll get back to you. About that, I think it's more for you guys, right? Yeah. That's my idea, but, I wanted to say that you copy those.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. Right, I just, yeah. Definitely that's right.
Yeah, it's gonna be on the communications. We don't have to call this here, right? Is that on top of what we do, and then I'll turn it over to me, her, to talk about it. And that was the foul, that's a repetition. All of these.
Thanks, buddy. Yes. So this is what we were, we have to share it right now.
Yes.
Oh, say it, yeah. Eric, what kind of, I was meant to, things, right up. But I think that.
Under the calendar.
What?
Yeah, agenda under the calendar.
Yeah, should be on. You also pull up Friday's email. No, but that's what we're saying.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, okay.
I know, I have some legs, his legs are even longer,
Oh,
so.
okay, get off that other thing, okay.
I will call this meeting to order, stand for the pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I wish to announce that the 48-hour notice is required under the Open Public Meetings Act is emailed to the Asbury Park Press, the Co-Star, and the New Co-Star on December the 19th of 2024. That a copy has been placed on the bulletin board in the borough office and that a copy has been filed with the municipal clerk. As a courtesy to the public, this meeting may be attended via Zoom. If for any reason Zoom fails or is disconnected, the in-person meeting will continue without interruption and action can and will be taken without, providing that there is an in-person quorum. Ms. Noble?
Here.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Here.
Mr. Nowicki?
Here.
Mr. Weber?
Here.
Mayor Gubitosi?
Here. Welcome, everyone. Going to move to item number 5 on our agenda. Tonight, we're going to do a couple of different things. I'll give you a quick overview, a couple of different things related to the budget process for 2025. We are going to have an open public hearing for the public to ask questions. We can answer questions as much time as the public needs to address the current budget that has been introduced. It was actually introduced back on April 15th. But any questions you have, feel free to ask those questions. We will answer them. At the end of that process, we'll close the public hearing. We will then have some discussion just among the council about introducing a municipal budget amendment. There will not be public comment for the amendment. That is reserved for the following meeting where we'll have another open public hearing and you can ask all the questions you want about the budget amendment. So with that as a quick overview, let's move to item 5 on our agenda, which is the public hearing on the amendment. Well, it's again on the, it's public hearing. Okay, we've got a typo here. But it's public hearing on the introduced municipal budget. And again, that is the budget. It's been on our website for over a month now. It's the budget that was introduced back on April 15th. So I'd like to open, I make a motion to open the public hearing on the municipal budget.
Second. Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubitosi?
Yes. Are there questions or comments, ladies and gentlemen, about the budget that has been introduced? Okay, seeing no questions, I'll make a motion.
Oh, there's a question.
Yeah.
Oh, there is, I'm sorry. Mr. Fairman.
Good evening, I'm Mayor and members of council.
Can you just
My
state your
is
name and
Frederick
address,
Fehrenbach,
please?
Ward 08, Bradley
Okay.
Boulevard, Bradley Beach.
Great. Thank you.
I tend to have done that on myself in the past. As you know, I'm a licensed certified municipal finance officer and have prepared many local and county budgets in New Jersey, including later versions of the 2023 borough budget and assisted in the development of the 2024 borough budget. Mayor Gubitosi knows that I have offered advice and assistance to this administration, as I had in the past administration. I am deeply concerned about the fiscal integrity of this municipality, as I have been for all the local governments I have served over the past. I come to speak publicly as a last resort. First, this governing body's 2025 budget has been developed based on the professional approach by the former Mayor Fowles, who willingly agreed to a reduction of $400,000 in anticipated surplus in the 2024 budget from that anticipated in 2023. Had he done what many politically oriented mayors do, he would have used it up in 2024 and let his successors try to figure out the next year for themselves. After seeing how you are using surplus in this budget, all of you should be thanking him for his frugal use of surplus in 24. However, given the budget surplus Strum and Drang of the past 2 years, of which the current mayor was an active participant, I was expecting a more responsible and conservative use of surplus in this 2025 budget. I would be very interested in reviewing this administration's surplus rebuilding analysis that should have been performed. But not being privy to review it, suffice it to say that without an understanding of how surplus will be rebuilt in 2025, I suspect at this point that too much is being used to prop up the expenditure side of this budget, which has increased about $750,000. Speaking of the expenditure side of this budget, it is almost totally driven by salary increase. As my requests of the 7th of March and the 21st of April have not received affirmative responses from the current administration, I can only surmise that no cost out of the UFCW contract was performed prior to making a borough offer to the union that closely mirrored the demands of the union. As of today, I have still not been provided the PERC required cost out calculations after waiting 3 months. These union demands to which I refer significantly outpace the going trend of regional labor settlements. I can only go by indicators that I was able to find studying the UFCW contract and comparing 2024 costs with 2025 appropriations for administration and finance services. These two items alone being about $120,000 of the 2024 additional costs alone. Based on regional non-police settlements, the cost of the UFCW contract should have risen no more than 6.5% to 7% for the years 2023 and 2024 in total. However, at this time, it appears the costs have gone up much more than that. From limited data I have been able to obtain, at least one salary increase rose as high as 25% over these 2 years. Overall, salary increases for 23 and 24 together approach or might even exceed 15%. Note that more than sufficient funds were encumbered in the 2023 and appropriated in the 2024 budgets for settlement in the range of regional non-police settlements for both UFCW and non-union employees. But there was not enough set aside for these levels of increases. How does this administration plan on paying the bill? I suspect that this will be coming from the 2024 reserves, which will then have an added negative impact on surplus available in the future. Lastly, my 13 January 2025 email to the mayor warned him of the lack of certification of funds for many resolutions adopted by this governing body on the 1st and 7th of January 2025, which appear to have been effectively ignored. The identified problem reached its pinnacle when the administrative staff allowed the governing body to adopt a resolution authorizing a contract for $380,000 to demolish the church structures without having any funds appropriated to pay for the contract because no one sought or obtained a certification of funds required by NJAC 5:30-5.4 for that purpose, even though resolution number 2025-150 referenced there being an extant certification of funds. Oh, and by the way, there is no capital improvement program in the introduced budget as required by both statute and administrative regulation. This is not how an administrator, a mayor, or a governing body responsibly manages the negotiations or a budget process. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Beerbach. Before, I don't know if there would be other questions, but there are a couple of comments I do want to make. One is thank you for the update and the heads up that you gave us regarding the $380,000 on the demolition for the church. As I mentioned back on our last budget meeting, that was an oversight. We did not do a verification of the funds. That is an oversight and administrative oversight that we acknowledged, as I think you know, you were here at that meeting. We acknowledged openly that it was an oversight, and in fact, that's why we're having the budget amendment discussion in a few minutes. So as far as your other comments related to the union, we have every intention of complying with reporting requirements. As you probably know, there is no specific time frame for us to file. So we are working on that. That is, again, something that is high on our priority list. I will say that we've been extremely busy fixing things that have been challenges for us over the first few months of this administration. So I appreciate you bringing things to our attention and to bring it to the public's attention. I can certainly go through an itemized list of the many things that we've been working on to correct. And I'll say finally, your estimates of what the appropriate wage adjustments should have been are, we will beg to disagree, and we will back up the numbers that we negotiated with the union very readily. What's most disconcerting to me is that you were part of the administration that took 2 years and still did not complete those negotiations. So it's easy to throw stones, Mr. Fehrenbach, but I would appreciate the side of you where you have offered assistance, and I would appreciate if you will continue to do that in the future. Thank
May I
you.
respond?
Please do.
Public sector negotiations, in which I have been involved for at least the last 45 years, involve a request by a union and a position by management. We did a major cost out in advance of those negotiations, of which, as you said, I was a part. Those calculations indicated a limit to which we believe the organization could not go without putting an undue burden on the taxpayer. It also related to our research on what settlements were within this region of Monmouth County and what would be reasonable numbers. The demands from the union were always significantly exceeding that. It was because of the union's response to every proposal the municipality made of no, that it ended up taking as long as it did. When one provides the other side something close to or exactly the same as to what they're seeking, negotiations go very quickly. In terms of the problems that existed previously, you're right. We made significant efforts, and you know that you and I had discussions, and I sent you emails. I had discussions with Mr. Gartz in an attempt to be able to bring you together, because the benefit there would have been if you would have had a continuous CFO from 2024 into 2025, you would have been able to have had the AFS done much more quickly. You would have been able to have the issues that existed at the end of 2024 between Mr. Gartz and Mr. Oliwood, the auditor, resolved. But when there ended up being new personnel, and we are now on our second CFO since Mr. Gartz was here, it is then extremely difficult to be able to figure out under which shell the P is located.
And thank you again, Mr. Fehrenbach. I will, yeah, please stay there. I will respond that you are exposing your ignorance as it regards Mr. Gartz. I had no opportunity to keep Mr. Gartz on. I did attempt to do so. I'm not going to speak about Mr. Gartz beyond that, but to assume that that was an option available to me is incorrect. The other assumption that you're making is that your yours and the prior mayor's assumptions were accurate and ours are not. I believe our assumptions underlying the union contract were accurate. And if yours were even close to accurate, you probably would have concluded an agreement in a 2-year time frame. So we're going to agree to disagree. I am more than happy to talk to you about the union contract, and I'll share as much data as you need to see. But other than I appreciate your open comments to the public and to this council, you and I are going to have to agree to disagree.
I would appreciate being able to see that. Just as I had indicated, I would very much enjoy being able to see the 2025 surplus rebuilding analysis. But I will also say to you that having been a monitor for the transitional aid program for the state of New Jersey, one of the things that is strongly advocated and is carried out in many, many municipalities is that the cost out is done before the offer is made. It's not calculated after the negotiations are concluded. You are correct that there is not a time limit on the cost out, but clearly one didn't exist if I had been waiting 3 months on a Oprah request to be able to see the PERC cost out.
There is no formal cost out filed yet. As I mentioned, cost out with all its data was completed in advance of the negotiation. And because you don't have it, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We are working on completing the filing, and when that is done, you will be the first to receive it.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Mr. Kenny.
Herb Kenny, 216 Brindley. Since, all the heroes get to speak again. When you put together this DPW contract, since we have to afford to pay for it, I think it'd be very important if you took Attorney Bernstein's fees for the last 2 years to get that done, which, it didn't get done, I forgot. But I'd like to know what you ended up paying for the DPW and what did you pay in legal fees for 2 years? Also, I've been coming here for about 4 years now. We talked about the reserve buildup. Last administration, I think, was close to blowing about close to 2 million in reserves, and I never saw a rebuild. So could you just explain what that is? Thank you.
The way, just again for, I probably should have our CFO explain this, but just as from one lay person to another, to a group of lay people. What Mr. Fehrenbach was requesting was just an understanding when we borrow money from our surplus and use it as a revenue line item, which is standard industry practice. That's referred to in our budget as anticipated surplus. We usually conduct a build out to basically say, how are we going to replace that? And I say we, usually the CFO puts that together. And it's usually a combination of bringing in revenue that was unanticipated, because we budget for anticipated revenue. But there are mechanisms in place where we typically are aware of additional revenue that will come in that we quote unquote do not anticipate. That additional revenue contributes to rebuilding the surplus. The other thing is we budget appropriations, we budget expenditures. And if we under expend, if we spend less than we budgeted, that surplus also goes towards rebuilding the surplus in a subsequent year. So trying to keep that relatively high level. That's what Mr. Fehrenbach, I believe, was requesting, and he's nodding his head in approval. So his concern is, do we have enough of that unanticipated revenue? And do we have perhaps anticipated excess appropriations, that we are underspending? And we are confident we do. But again, that's, I guess, the short answer, Mr. Kenny, just, that we feel very confident in this budget. Mr. Cohen?
Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. Is there a surplus rebuilding analysis for 23 and 24?
for 23 and 24.
Yeah, we're substantial, as Mr. Kenny pointed out.
Yeah.
Substantial surplus was used, but, you know, Mr. Fernbach's now asking for a surplus rebuilding analysis. But when he was in the driver's seat, was one done? That's what I'm trying to establish.
Yes, they were performed. They ended up being very inadequate. They were not accurate.
Okay, and the salary increases in the process. As I reviewed the steps, some of the steps in the DPW contract were less than minimum wage. So how can it not go up substantially? I mean, these people weren't getting paid.
Right, Mr. Fehrenbach mentioned that a large portion of the current year's budget is attributed to salary increases, and in fact, roughly a third of our salaries could be around that range. Were tied to the union negotiations, so not all of them, but roughly a third of the salaries were. And those salaries did increase well beyond the numbers that Mr. Fehrenbach suggested, 6 to 7%.
But they had to, if they were already below minimum wage, you've got to go there and then pay them for the years. Is that?
I actually put together a PowerPoint presentation a month or so ago, 6 weeks ago, but relatively recently, explaining exactly how those steps increase and how we had to do a market adjustment as well as, you know, the regular indexing that Mr. Fehrenbach referenced. So Mr. Fehrenbach is privy to the market adjustment component of the analysis that we prepared. But as he mentioned, some numbers are 15 to 25%. But that basically was bringing people from a midpoint of the old contract, which was the old contract ran 2020 through, it should have run 2022, 23, and 24. The midpoint of that, because those numbers stay the same for all 3 years, the midpoint is 2022. The new contract that we just negotiated goes out to 2027 from 25 to 7. So the midpoint is 2026. That's 4 years from the midpoint of the old to the midpoint of the new. For example, a 15% increase is about 3% average, you know, per person. And on top, and that was just doing an inflationary indexing. That does not include a market adjustment. And to your point, Mr. Cohen, that market adjustment had to bring us up to a level relatively high level relative to the minimum wage. The minimum wage, step one in most of our contracts was right at minimum wage. And entering the contract, the new contract that we just negotiated, it should have been probably 20% higher, 30% higher than minimum wage. So that at the low end of our steps,
1 and 2.
we had to add a lot of extra dollars, well more than the number Mr.
Sure,
Fehrenbach.
and the concern that he has about the undue burden on taxpayers, I mean, clearly, if DPW is not happy in doing their job, there's an undue burden there, but also, I don't know if any undue burden was considered in the 2023 and 2024 budgets, when substantial monies were taken out of the surplus and the increases were gigantic.
I'm going to continue to refrain from openly criticizing prior practices, but we've had a lot of correcting to do.
And also about all the CFOs. I mean, Mr. Menino, who was our CFO, had his certification lifted from being a CFO in New Jersey, but we never knew that. I mean, it's like, there's been a lot of poor administrative standards before that, and I'm happy they're getting rebuilt now. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there other comments or questions? Yes, Mary Backstrom. Mary, can you hear us?
Mary?
Mary Backstrom.
Okay.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments? I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Thank you.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatose?
Yes. Now, amongst the governing body, we'd like to discuss.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, it's Mary Backstrom.
Mary, I just closed the
Yeah.
public.
Well,
hearing.
I know because I couldn't get off mute.
Okay, sure, please make your comment.
Mary Backstrom, 218 Fourth Avenue, Bradley Beach.
Mary, I'm sorry. I'll make a motion that we reopen public comment.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt? Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Okay, Ms. Backstrom.
Thank you. So as you know, Mr. Mayor and Council, when I do not agree with you, I'm very happy to express my opinion. But what I'd like to say tonight is, it's so refreshing that when a mistake is made at the administrative level, that it's acknowledged, which I haven't seen with the prior administration. Secondly, in regards to one of the residents speaking tonight, in the words of a famous playwright, methinks thou protest too much. It's very strange. And I will just say that although I will have disagreements and you will hear about it, I am incredibly gratified to have an administration that has been looking into everything, which, by the way, I realize you only had 3 or 4 Post-it notes as part of your transition, but despite that, you're looking into the numbers, you're making the hard decisions, and you're being very transparent about it. So I just wanted to say I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to once again close the public hearing.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Okay, just for discussion among the council, we have resolution 2025-196, which is a proposed amendment to the budget. And as I mentioned, this is driven almost entirely by the omission of $380,000 of demolition costs for the church. I mentioned this a few meetings ago, back at when we introduced this budget originally, that it was an oversight, an accounting administrative oversight. And the way municipal budgets work, your revenue has to equal your expenses or your, whatever it's called. Yes, thank you. So anyway, we are not allowed to recognize revenue that didn't exist before. For example, $4 million of revenue, more or less, that might come in as a result of the sale of the church. We're not allowed to say anticipated revenue. It's unanticipated revenue. Nonetheless, we have to balance our appropriations with our revenue. What you're seeing, anyone looking at this 2025-196, is largely a significant increase in surplus anticipated. The 380,000 absolutely has to be recognized in appropriations. But when you say that the budget has increased over last year, 700,000, 400,000, keep in mind, this 400,000 is a one-time increase. It's not going to stay at that level going forward. On the other hand, $4 million or $3 million, whatever the property sells for, when that comes in, that is also a $1 million, a 1 year impact on our budget. So please don't be confused if people say budget's way up this year, especially if you have a number of one-time events impacting the budget. So with that said, does the council have any questions about the 2025-196, the amendment, which is largely bringing up our anticipated surplus, almost $300,000 of the 380.
Well, I'll just say, Mayor, that I noticed also that there are certain things that you're tightening up a little bit on certain budget items, basically reducing those budget items, small amounts in order to generate some additional funds. So that was basically maybe well, we were a little bit generous on those budget items, or had some contingency perhaps in those budget numbers, that we're just tightening those up a little bit in order to generate offsetting some of that $380,000.
It would have been easiest to just add the full 380 to the total, but you're right. We said we can take some of these other budget items down a little bit.
Okay, and also that the money that's gonna get recouped from the church isn't just the when we sell the sales of the property, isn't just the $380,000. I mean, there's engineering costs, there's costs that went into this over the last several years that will be basically offset or reimbursed to the borough through that selling of those properties.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments about the introduction, about the, the amendment?
Yep.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion then that we approve the resolution 2025-196 to amend the 2025 budget.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. I feel as though I've deprived you, CFO, of any comments. Are you okay?
Bonnie did a beautiful job.
Okay, if you would like to make any comments, can I give you that opportunity now?
Good, but I think I said enough last time that I was here, so, I could tell by the fact that there wasn't so many questions, so, thank you. I think you said it all, and you said it well.
Okay, great, thank you. We are going to move to, well, actually, before we move back to 6 on the agenda, there may be some people here who are specifically here to discuss our ordinance amendment, which I will tell you in a second is 2025-17, the traffic amendment, which is really addressing changes we were proposing, we introduced to our parking lot. And anyone here to discuss that is welcome to stay and welcome to speak. But I'd like to make a motion. We, the council, believe there's still a little more work to do on this. So I'd like to make a motion for tonight that we table 2025-17. I want to make that motion now. So if anyone does want to leave, they can.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes, thank you. Okay, now we'll move to our workshops and Mr. Ben Matlack from CME is here to take us through a couple of quick updates on our boardwalk, promenade, and our Main Street.
Thank you, Mayor. If Michelle could allow me access to share the screen on here, that would be great.
Michelle, let Ben share the screen, please.
Well, this is technology.
Usually works.
Usually does.
She's on it.
That's the intercom system here.
No.
There, right?
There we go. Okay, I'm hoping everybody can see that. All right.
Yes, it's not. We're off agenda.
Okay.
But the problem-
Thank you, Mayor Council.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yeah.
We have an open.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's been held, okay.
Technical problem, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, Ben. Thank you.
So I'm here today to talk about two things. First is the Bradley Beach Promenade Extension. It's just basically to conclude our conceptual phase of this project, give you an overview of what we've done so far, and show you essentially what the extension is going to look like. Of course, we're talking about the area in town along Ocean Avenue between Third Avenue and Sylvan Lake, basically the municipal border with Avon. The intent of the project is to extend the promenade. You see that picture on the right. The promenade stops. You kind of look at the two together. You can see it stops there at the top of the red square and just goes back down to Ocean Avenue. And there is a sidewalk along Ocean Avenue for people to walk currently, but it's at a lower elevation. The
this area of town is not as protected as the rest of town because the promenade has a bulkhead. It's made of concrete pavers. So it offers more protection for storms. So we want to extend that all the way to the municipal border. I'll go to the next slide. So if you remember, the borough received a grant from the NJDCA Division of Community Affairs. Boardwalk Preservation Grant, the amount of $4,275,000. There is a borough match component to that in 5%, which I understand is coming out of the beach utility. And so far, we've prepared a conceptual plan. As I explained, it's extending from Third Ave to the municipal border. There will be stairs along this portion, as well as ADA access with ramps coming down from the promenade to the beach. We're exploring permitting. We've submitted a jurisdictional determination request from the NJDEP, and we should be hearing back from them shortly to identify exactly what permits we need. I anticipate we're going to need approval from the Army Corps of Engineers, even though this is technically outside of their jurisdiction, just because the nature of the project, we're anticipating approval from them.
I think we got that approval like a long time ago. But and we can talk offline about that, because the Army Corps came in, I mean, it's their project, so. Anyway, yeah.
And then Ocean Avenue is a county road, so we'll be working with Monmouth County as well to make sure they have a chance to provide their input and get any approvals we need from that. Okay, so this is the existing conditions, as I said. The promenade stops, and you can see this is showing the sidewalk area right adjacent to Ocean Avenue. You can see the dunes in the background there. We're not doing anything to the dunes. They are going to remain in place. And this is the intention. We'll continue the same design that is up and downtown with the green space between Ocean Avenue and the promenade. We'll install, railing along the promenade. We'll have benches, streetlights, decorative streetlights, and it'll be just matching the existing width of the promenade and the green space. Here's just another example. Again, you can see the dunes in the background are not changing. And then this is the view from the beach side. I don't know if you can kind of decipher it from this view, but essentially it's going to be a bulkhead in the front on the beach side. I don't know exactly what the material is going to be. I think it's most likely going to be steel sheet pilings. The existing bulkhead is made of wood, but that is an older style of bulkheading. More modern would be steel, but we haven't gotten to that point yet. So we're still going to work through that, and we'll review that with the borough as we get through that design. And that is my presentation. On that, are there any questions?
Questions, Shannon?
So if you could just walk me through where it actually turns at Third Avenue. It turns and currently slopes down, and then it's set back from the current promenade. What's currently existing?
It goes to the sidewalk, basically, like this,
It
to the
goes
right
to
of the
the
street,
sidewalk.
goes to the sidewalk, it's almost a street level.
So when you, are you actually extending the promenade, so the entire promenade will be further east than it is currently in that location?
That's correct, yes.
So what happens with the concession that's there?
The Second Avenue Grill, we would work around that. We don't intend to move it or demolish the building or anything. The intention would be to incorporate that into the design so that You can still access it from the Ocean Avenue side. And potentially from the promenade side, we haven't gotten that far yet, but that will be incorporated into the design.
So it'll actually be on the other side of the promenade,
Well, I
right?
think the promenade would kind of go almost around it, right?
Yeah, it would kind of go around it and almost kind of meet up on the backside. But it would be raised higher up, so we still have to work through that and see exactly how kind of the two parts would be the
Would it-
backside of the building and the backside of the promenade.
Right, so that the actual serving side would more likely be on the new promenade side.
It could be, yeah.
Right.
Other questions?
And then, yeah, Ben, is this like, am I remembering right that we have to extend some contracts or spend some money or did we already do that? Like, is there a time sensitive part to this one, or am I thinking about that?
Yes, there is a time sensitive component to this, so we have the grant that I talked about from the DCA. The money has to be spent before the end of 2026.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I didn't see anything with wheelchair access. Is that going to be?
Yeah, it's not shown on the renderings, but there will be handicap accessible ramps coming down from the promenade onto the beach.
Okay.
And this is actually, you'll have accessible access from the Ocean Avenue side, sidewalk would still be there, and you'd have a ramp going up to the new promenade. Similar to what you have now along the rest of.
Right, but how about from the promenade onto the beach?
Yeah,
There'll be a ramp there.
you would have kind of like the switchbacks that you have up and down the.
That's great. Okay, good news. Thank you.
And so Ben, I did see these concepts previously and just a couple key points is the locations and the configuration of those little walks, anybody who wants to see those, look at them closer, those are just conceptually, they're not engineered out yet, exactly how they're going to switch back, and so it's just a concept of a stairway of ADA accessibility. So that detail still needs to get worked out, as well as how we're gonna work around the grill in particular, and
Exactly,
how that actually works.
yes.
And then also, just for clarity, this grant is only gonna cover a portion, it's not going to, this first piece, the first phase of the project, not all the way to Evergreen. So we have to go back and get additional grant money still, to go from, say, from Second Avenue to Evergreen.
Yes, and we're exploring different grant opportunities, haven't found one yet, but we're going to keep doing that as we advance into the design. And if we need to implement the project in phases, that's what we'll have to do.
Okay, great, thank you.
Two quick questions for me, I think, definitely one. In your other picture, the new promenade wall, and I know this is all illustrative, but it did look like it was bumping up against the dunes.
That would be like that.
Yes, that is not to be taken as being perfectly to scale. It's just to illustrate that the new promenade is going to be bumped out closer to the dunes, but it won't be cutting into the dunes.
If you go to the first picture.
Yeah, there's
You can see how much space there is, well, wait, yeah, you can see, so even if everything that's in the bottom of the picture on the right
The fence.
goes, it's like about out to the fence. And there's still gonna be what's from the fence oceanward that would,
Yeah,
Does
you
that make
can
sense?
see.
Yeah.
This red box, kind of encloses the front of the existing promenade, and if you extend that down. There's still space between the red box and the existing dunes, so there's enough room there to have both.
So I'm gonna ask a question that is gonna, I think, delight Mr. Weber and probably make the rest of us groan, but should there be any consideration given to having a different form of access onto the beach there? If we're really close to the dunes, should we consider having more of a walkover? So we don't have to create space between the bulkhead and the dune, we can instead, enter onto the beach.
It's definitely a possibility, it's kind of the borough's decision, how you want to do that. The most common thing is having switchbacks right along the promenade, But that's definitely an option to do a kind of a longer ramp that goes out onto the beach. And we would have to take a few things into consideration. Permitting would be one of them, and then how that would affect the existing dunes, whether or not we would have to modify the dunes at all. That'll be something that we can look into.
The reason I say that is not to be daring and ultra creative, it's because that space between the dunes and the bulkhead today. We have lockers there, we have a lot of emergency vehicles back and forth, lifeguard vehicles back and forth. And as we start to scrunch that space, it might become impractical to use it for anything other than a walkover without obviously disrupting the dunes. So I just want to plant that seed. This will be an elevated promenade as you extend it. It will need fill of some sort.
Yes.
And again, just planting a seed, you and I have talked about this, but for the rest of the world to hear what's on our minds. I'd love to keep an open mind if there's a possibility of using some of the Sylvan Lake dredging material for that fill, so.
Yeah, there is, we've had conversations about this. I've met with the Sylvan Lake Commission. They also have a technical advisory committee that meets approximately once a month. It's come up in conversation. The group that's involved with that, the American Littoral Society, has secured approval from the DEP to do soil sampling or sediment sampling of the material in Sylvan Lake. So depending on the results of that, we can make a determination whether that material is suitable for that fill area.
Okay, great. If no further questions, we should move on to Main Street. Any other questions? All right. Main Street it is.
Okay. So for Main Street, we're still in the early stages, but I wanted to just show you a slide of just kind of a summary of what's happening right now. We have completed the existing survey and existing conditions base mapping. So we have a base set of drawings to work off of, and we are advancing the preliminary design as we speak. We have people working on it, and we've also reached out to the NJDOT to discuss what permits would be needed because Main Street is a state highway, Route 71. We are also going to discuss with them potential striping for the parking along Main Street. And I know there's been discussions, and I think there's something later on the agenda about a request for reducing the speed limit on Main Street. That'll be something that we get involved with as well as we do this design. We're also reviewing street light design and layout. Different light options are being reviewed. I know that was a topic of discussion when we had our original committee that Mr. Weber and I were on. So we're looking into, what the best design options for that are going to be. And I know some of the lights have been knocked over in years past. So there are a couple of gaps right now. It's possible we could get them replaced in the interim. So picking those early on are just something that we're looking at. Couple of the design considerations, like I said, the speed limit reduction. We're gonna work with the borough and with the DOT on that. And then with a speed limit reduction, we're also going to investigate whether or not that is more conducive to allowing bike lanes instead of just share the road arrows on Main Street. And again, the parking options, like I just said. So that's all for Main Street. I don't have any plans to show you right now. Nothing from a record study or anything.
Thank you, sir. Any questions?
Pavers as well, right? Pavers.
Yes, pavers.
Repaving the entire road.
The sidewalks would be continue to be the brick paver style sidewalks.
Ben, could you just refresh everybody on, the funding's coming from DOT, what's the grant dollar value, what's the schedule, and any requirements on the timing for spending this, and how much work can we actually get done with that, with the amount of grant money that we have approximately?
Yeah, so the grant that we have, I don't have it up with me right now, but it's in the range of 1.4 million, I think it is. And that is actually from congressionally directed spending. So that's a federal grant. It'll most likely be administered through the DOT. That's typically how federal grants are administered. So we are working on getting an agreement executed for that. To secure that funding and figure out exactly what requirements that federal money comes with.
And as far as the overall, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could approach this project. You could do elements along the corridor.
Yes.
You could also just complete a section of Main Street, the northern side of town perhaps, right? Or, have you started to come up with strategies around the different options that we
So
consider?
we haven't figured out exactly how that money is going to be allocated yet. What we're doing right now is we're working on the design for the entirety of Main Street. And then, as we have to go through a lengthy review process. I know that the federal funding comes with a lengthy review process through the Federal Highway Authority. So by the time we get to the end of that, it's possible the borough could have additional funding that we're, like the promenade, we're actively looking for. And we'll implement the project in phases, however that works out, whether it is a certain number of blocks on one end of town or a certain improvement along the entire length. We haven't figured that out.
And well, we did discuss doing taking the money we have to do, whatever we do it to the whole town and not doing it in sections.
That did come up, yes.
So, and have we just not heard from additional funding? Because we applied for additional funding on top of the 1.4, correct?
There was one grant that we did hear from that we were unsuccessful.
Okay.
But we are applying for another grant and we'll be waiting to hear on that.
Okay, great, thanks.
I'm sorry, we did apply for another grant. That was just due last month, so
Okay.
it won't be for a while.
What was that grant?
It was a transportation alternatives set aside.
Are there any other questions from the council?
I'm fine, thank you.
I'm gonna do a somewhat unusual thing, and that is open this up to the public to ask Mr. Malak questions. Normally, we would ask the public to hold their comments until that agenda item, but Ben, to enable you to leave and also to follow up quickly on any of the comments,
Sure.
I'll give them that chance. So make a motion, open it up to the public.
Second.
Ms. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubachesi?
Yes. Any comments or questions for Ben Malak? Yes, Fred.
Rick Bartholomew, 116 Newark. Just a quick question on the boardwalk promenade. I just happened to look at the pavers on there. So that my question is, that would be like a third set of type of pavers we have in our boardwalk. So something just to be aware of. That's it. Thank you.
Then shame on you.
So Ben, they're gonna match
Well,
something
they would be-
that's already there, I would hope.
Yeah, the intention would be to match the existing ones that they're tying into.
Okay.
Other questions? Yes, sir. Peter.
Thank you. Peter Sharp, 301 Second Avenue, just a quick question for Ben on Promenade Extension. Right now, if you're accessing the unpromenade area, say Evergreen, it is pretty easy to roll on and roll off. With the promenade, what is the anticipated number of steps? What's the anticipated height that someone would have to traverse up and then down to access the beach?
Just gonna open up the promenade slides again. So Ocean Avenue is approximately elevation 9 or 10. And the elevation of the promenade up here is 14. So it's about a 4-foot grade difference from the street to the top of the promenade. So that would be the height that we'd have to traverse. Now. There's room here to make it up the promenade if, because Ocean Avenue is not perfectly flat, it's not 9 or 10 the whole way down. If the grade is, requires too steep of a ramp, we would most likely have to do kind of a switchback sidewalk to make up the room.
I'm sorry, I'm not that smart.
No, it's
How many steps up and how many steps down?
Well, it wouldn't be steps, it would be a ramp, just like you have at this end of the promenade.
Okay, so it wouldn't be any steps, everyone would use a ramp.
Yeah.
Okay, and it would be how many feet up, how many feet?
About 4 feet up in elevation.
Okay, that's you.
Thank you.
And you can also possibly adjust the grade of the actual promenade itself and, you know, and slope down a little bit to be able to accommodate 6 inches or a foot to help to try to minimize minimize the amount of ramping.
Yeah, that's possible. You can see on the picture there, the existing promenade, there's like the top of the bulkhead is a little bit higher than the promenade surface itself. If we needed to drop the promenade down a couple inches, like you said, you know, you could still do that and keep your 14-foot elevation for storm protection.
Other questions from the audience? Yes, yeah.
Mia Mullen, 302 Fourth Avenue. I might be pointing out the obvious because I'm not very smart either, or things that you probably thought of. There was, we see that there's a new green that's gonna be there, and I'm just curious, does that maintenance of that green come out of the beach fund, or, and does DPW know that it's more work for them? Like, is that just discussed?
It's
before
very
it all gets
preliminary,
put
but
down? Cause it
yeah.
was beautifully done in the picture, and it's just more work. And is that through the beach fund? I'm sorry. Or is
It
it,
would be paid for by the beach utility, but again, that's very illustrative. Honestly, when I looked at that, I thought, boy, that's a lot of maintenance, so
yeah.
we'll
that's
have to
all.
decide what it ultimately looks like.
Let's plant native plants that are
Yeah.
maintenance free and call it a day.
Well, there was green grass and it's been
Right.
forever to mow my.
But that's what I'm saying, like no grass, like if we wanna just plant plants and no maintenance, that'd be all.
And also, Mayor Gubitosi mentioned it, the lockers, like where do they go? Are there lockers there now? I would assume so, yeah. And there's plenty of room for them because it's just a narrow sidewalk. So, just to keep that. And then I was confused on the timing of all this. I thought I heard not to spend it by 2026 and we're already in 2025 season. Is this something that we're looking to do by next beach season? Or we don't even know that?
Ben, could you just clarify, is that obligating the money or actually spending the money?
It's actually spending the money by the end of 2026, which is going to come up quick. So it's the permitting is going to be critical to make sure we have a clear plan of what permits we need and knowing the review time that's required for that.
And will ensure that this won't take place during the summer season?
That is the goal. I can't tell you right now exactly because again, the permitting is going to dictate it.
There are certain
And
things
there
beyond.
could be certain restrictions of timing when you're even allowed to do construction.
Is that it, man?
Was this only comments for number 6 workshops?
For Mr. Malak, yes.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Yes, sir. Mark.
This is Mark Roosevelt, 29 Terrace. I'm a little late in the game, but what about putting some volleyball courts in there as well? Maybe area for the band of New York Street. Be less fill, but it's on the promenade around it.
Keeping the sand? Keeping the sand.
Yeah, keeping
Yeah.
some, not all, I'm just still
Right.
filled around, but still moving areas.
Are you saying make the promenade more narrow?
Well, you have like 2 blocks there. Take maybe a third of one of those blocks and there you put the volleyball courts. Like
Instead
you
of
do-
grass.
It's like on New York Street. Over a cliff actually there, where there's volleyball, where they have around there. I, food for thought. Late in the game, sorry.
No, not late at all.
I do want to just respond to that, because that's a very good question. I think what he was referring to was in place of the grass, instead of the green space, have volleyball, which is definitely not.
What do you mean, like down at beach level?
Beach, yeah, and yeah, like a horseshoe area,
Okay,
so it's still, that's still like 4 feet down. And some of them will promenade.
But bring the promenade closer to the side, to the road.
Yeah, I'll still keep it.
Yeah.
Ben, were you gonna offer an insight as to replacing the grass with volleyball courts?
That's a possibility too.
It'd be up, so yeah, maybe up.
Okay. As long as no one chases their volleyball into the street, we should be. Any other questions or comments from this audience? Is there a way to open up the, Ben, is there a way to open up the screens so we can see some people? Thank you. To anyone on Zoom, any questions for Mr. Matlack? Okay, seeing no other questions, before we move on to our next workshop, seeing our former mayor, Mr. Fox, in the back of the room. I just want to give Mr. Fox a tip of the hat because so much of the opportunities we're looking at now, the Promenade, Main Street, Sylvan Lake, the Fox administration secured $4 million of a grant for the Promenade, 1.4 million for Main Street, 2.4 or so for Sylvan Lake, and other dollars in there as well. So Larry, while you're here tonight with us, thank you for that work. Okay, let's move on to the Fletcher Lake presentation of light installation. And I see a number of faces from Fletcher Lake here. So today, before you begin a formal presentation, can I just ask you all to stand to show the room where you are? And before you sit, I just would like to say thank you so much for the work you all do as our Fletcher Lake Commission and what a recognition. So with that said, who would like to make the presentation? I see some brave souls.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Linda Brown, and this is my husband Eric, and we live at 319 Lake Terrace. Tonight, I am representing the Fletcher Lake Committee this evening. My objective tonight is to obtain approval of a trial LED lighting system on the aerator closest to Main Street. We have already received a quote from the vendor, and it connects seamlessly with the aerator unit we already have. We understand that there are some concerns with this request, but rest assured, many of the committee members have done tireless work researching this data. As discussed in previous meetings, it was pertinent to receive approval from both townships that share the lake responsibilities. Neptune approved this project a few weeks ago at a council meeting with a unanimous decision. Our goal is to get approval for the trial lighting system tonight from Bradley Beach, so we may proceed with the purchase of the unit. The unit to be purchased is a Casco LED 4C11 4-light kit from a vendor called The Pond Guy. After speaking extensively to the vendor, it was discovered it is the simple 110-watt outlet that is already equipped across the lake. The aerator that would be trialed would need the shortest cord of about 50 feet. Now I'd like to address some of the concerns the council may have about the light. First, the LED lights that would be installed are not harmful to the fish in the lake. LED lights are made for their energy efficiency, longevity, and low heat output. In addition, the lights would turn on or would be on a timer to regulate when they would begin and end each evening. Obviously, we would have the power to determine those usage times. Second is the concern of the growth of algae. Again, because of the LED efficient lighting system, it does not directly impact significant growth because the light will only be on when the aerator is running. Thus, there would be no standing water for the algae to begin to grow. The main culprit for the growth of algae is produced by light from the sun, and there is nothing we can do in regards to that. Finally, we received input from my father-in-law, who is a chemist and scientist with over 40 years of experience. Quoting him, virtually everything about the disadvantages, algae growth, harm to fish, of pond lighting refers to small backyard koi ponds where the lighting to water ratio makes things like heat from a bulb, algae growth, and proximity of the fish to the lights a factor. The negative effect of lighting on anything as large as Fletcher Lake is zero. There is so much water compared to a few LED lights that it has no environmental impact. It basically comes down to aesthetics and public safety versus cost. On to the positives. The lights would bring to the community. First, committee members walk door to door on both Bradley Beach and Ocean Grove to discuss this initiative. Every household that would be affected by the lighting of the aerator approved with a resounding and enthusiastic yes. Many of whom even asked if they could donate to the cause. As wonderful of a response as that is, the Fletcher Lake Commission has more than enough money to fund this trial with hopes of expanding next year. I have with me a list of all the addresses and names of residents on both sides of the lake that again unanimously approved of this project. The light would add a much needed ambiance and beauty to the side of the lake after dark. Many people walk around the lake during the evening, and what better way to enjoy it later than to add an aesthetic feature? It would more than boost the community pride, as we would be one of the first lakes in the surrounding areas to add lights to an aerator. Next is the safety feature. The lighting around the lake is insufficient. There are few solar lights that are still not operating properly on the Bradley Beach side. The aerator light can add that extra layer of lighting in a dimly lit area. Finally, there is potential for special events in front of a lighted fountain. As beautiful as Bryant Park is, it is always beneficial to have a different atmosphere for potential future events. To conclude, I believe some of the members of the new administration and mayor campaigned with a simple slogan, "Better Bradley Together." This will make Bradley a better place to visit, especially for families. At this time, I would like to ask what questions or concerns or positive statements you have for the Fletcher Lake team, and do we have your approval?
So let me start just with a quick comment. We're actually not prepared to vote tonight. This as a workshop. It's a presentation to give us a chance to ask questions and give you guys obviously a chance to share your insights with us. The soonest we'd be able to act on an approval, formal approval at least, would be June 18th, our next meeting. But with that said, we got the bongos going.
You said June 18th, or you said July?
June.
The next meeting,
In
the next
2 weeks,
council meeting.
roughly 2 weeks, 13 days. Questions?
So was the motivation for this, is it purely aesthetic, like people think it will look nice and, was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was the main idea.
So, and is the commission, like, people, well, I hope are we gonna hear from other people in the commission, or we are, okay, so I just want to hear. Okay, cool, I didn't know if you're speaking for everybody, but, the only thing, and it wasn't in the list of concerns there, but it's like dark skies, like sending light up into the airs, you know, I would love if we would have darker skies, like if I had my way, I would, you know, change the lighting on the boardwalk and whatever, and when it comes time to change that, I'd love to have a conversation about lights that don't escape up so you can't see stars and stuff like that, so, I think that I would love it, I mean, we can't tell people not to have lights, for example, on their own property, but on town-owned properties, would love to, you know, have lights that weren't shooting up into the sky, causing light pollution. There's some towns around here that are passing dark skies, or just lighting ordinances to say, hey, where we can control the light, we keep it from spilling out over, you know, like up and keep it pointing down where you need it for safety and things like that. So I'm assuming it's pointing up, right?
Well, we should be pointing, there's 4 lights that would go on the aerator and they would point to the water that's, you know, coming out of the fountain itself.
And
The
so-
LED lights specifically that they would be using are low lit ones, so the emission of a light is not gonna be like a spotlight that you can see.
Is there any way to make it point down, to put something so it just points down into that? Is that?
I don't think so, I mean, we'd have to have like some apparatus that would connect the lights and then show it down to the lake, so I don't think that would be possible.
Then it would only go on, obviously, when the aerators go on, so it wouldn't be obviously all night, I mean, they go off around like 8:39.
Oh, yeah, what are the hours that they work?
Yeah, you know,
We would have to look,
Yeah.
obviously we'd want to like expand it till like probably about 10:30, so you can get some of that, the light from the aerator a little bit later. And, you know, truthfully, you know, to have the aerators stay in the fountain longer, you know, right now, sometimes they go out around October. You know, why not extend that to November? It's not, the lake's not freezing over by that point either, so, you know, we can enjoy it longer throughout the season, I think, too.
Thanks. Other questions from the council?
Yeah, no, I think there's some great points that the committee has made regarding the aesthetics and safety, and I think those are all very excellent benefits. But, I think John has a point too with if I was a person with my telescope out there looking at, specific planets or stars, I might be disturbed by the light pollution. That's something to be considered. How much of an effect does that have in the night sky from, from somebody who wants to be a stargazer? Also aerators shut off at 8 o'clock, I think, currently, so we would have to extend those hours. So there is an additional cost, from a energy perspective, but not something that's that significant, I would say. And then the last thing that I wrote down here, just to jot a note, I'm on the Silver Lake Commission. The liaison for that, and I kind of look at this and it's not just about the people who live around Fletcher Lake, it's the whole town, because I ride my bike from one side to the other side of town often, and so in some ways that's a benefit. To have those lights, but a precedent being set that all of a sudden we're gonna light, then are we also then, does this now move over to Sylvan Lake? And then what does Avon say about that? Because that's a joint lake commission. So I think there's a bigger picture that we need, as a council, need to consider overall, not just about the residents who live just on the lake. Of course, you're front row, but other people who walk and traverse that on a regular basis overall for the community. And so we really need to get a perspective of that as well. And then, and I don't have necessarily a dog in the fight one way or the other, except that what's the overall community looking at this as, and is it truly a benefit? I mean, my last point is, has the environmental commission, being that it's an environmental issue, theoretically, lights and stuff, have they been engaged, of their opinion on this? Because we do have a commission for environmental.
Yeah, the answer to that's no, but that's nobody's fault, we just didn't think of that.
Okay, that might be a good thing
It's
to
gonna be
engage
Monday.
them to get consensus. That helps build the community consensus.
So, and I had a few questions, because I know so little about lighting, and number one, my first reaction was, oh, that sounds cool. So I mean, I think it's a great idea. But as you're aware, I did go to Chat GPT and they said, I need AI to be my mentor because I know nothing. And it did highlight concerns about algae, and thank you for addressing some of those. I didn't have a relative who's an expert in the area. But a couple things that I want to ask that I'm not sure we've addressed yet. Well, so one is the ambient lighting. I did have that concern. Does it ruin stargazing for others after you look at the lake, you look up and can't see? And my two colleagues have at least mentioned that. Is there any risk that you're aware of to wildlife? Because, nocturnal animals that like enjoy the dark, all of a sudden they have a lit up lake, and are they more, I don't know, swans or ducks, are they more likely to be at risk by predators because predators can see them better?
And we haven't really looked at that, but truthfully, I mean, the amount of fowls and geese and stuff like that on the lake right now, because we have, the geese police that come, and it's very minimal. And I don't think that, having lights on from 7 to maybe 10 o'clock is really gonna, make that much of a difference to their habitat. Most of them are not living in the lake. They're usually in the surrounding areas outside.
And it would sit on the aerator too, so it's really just gonna light up the fountain, not necessarily the lake, so.
And the lighting that you're discussing that you referenced for us, is that something we'd add to our existing aerator, or are you buying a new aerator?
Yeah, it would go to the existing one already.
Yes.
We showed the specs of the ones that we have already, and he gave us the model of what the light would be for that specific area.
And that's why we're saying a trial too, because it's very easy, so it just basically plugs into, the outlet that we have now, and it sits on the aerator, and that's why we were proposing doing one to see, how much people liked it, obviously what the benefits are, I mean, we can test the algae before and after, so, that's why we're proposing a trial, because if it doesn't work, then we can take it off, but.
And we know, like, specifically with the Ocean Grove side, they wanna, preserve that historical aspect of things as well. But we did find that lights on a fountain, they date back quite a long way as well, so it would preserve that for them too.
Yeah, I think my original concerns were algae, the ecosystem. Are you attracting mosquitoes? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Who's eating the mosquitoes and?
Bats actually are.
Right.
Yeah, well, that actually worked.
So- So I haven't figured out the whole ecosystem thing, but I do appreciate your presentation
Thank you.
tonight. And I did want to just acknowledge the folks, I guess the three of us have all been at one point or another liaisons to Fletcher Lake. I'm not missing you guys, right? You have
No.
not yet. You've been a lot of liaison otherwise. But thank you all for all the work you do. We will chat not together, we cannot deliberate, but we will exchange some thoughts about your presentation and.
I have a couple more questions.
Oh,
though. I'm
please.
sorry.
I thought you were.
When did the, when would you start the light? What month? You said you want to end in November?
Or when we start, like, put the aerators in, I mean, it's usually up to Neptune, 'cause they're
Yeah.
the ones that have the fountains that store it.
Okay,
I mean, we would like it earlier, obviously, to enjoy it. But I think they usually start right in the middle of May.
May,
and
that's
it
what I
goes
figured.
through about,
Okay.
October.
And they usually dictate that, because we had asked exactly like what timing and when does it go in, and they didn't have, it's kind of. Mid-May to say like mid-October, so there's no distinctive time that they could give us. I think it just kind of depends on the weather and. What else they got going on, so.
and what colors would this be again? Could you remind me?
So it would be a soft white color, and they would give you options for different colors, so like the 4th of July, have red, white, and blue. So there's green if you add it for St. Patrick's Day, but the normal one would be the.
And how many kilowatts are you looking at? Like, do you know what it would be set at?
I have to go back. and-
Yeah,
I think it's 2,700 or less is
What do you mean?
less disruptive to wildlife.
Okay, but they're talking about LED light, like the amount of energy that these are gonna use are really.
But I'm saying as far as the light spillage and everything,
Yeah,
like,
that's
what's-
probably measured in lumens, so.
it says 2,700 K. So
Kelvin, you're right.
Kelvin, that's it.
2700.
Thank you.
That's, okay, right.
We've
Or
got
less.
AI battling AI here.
Yeah.
John versus.
Definitely not.
And it does suggest that you do amber, red, or warm white. And that it's less disruptive to the wildlife than cooler, bluer lights too. So maybe keep that in mind as well.
Yep, that's the soft white, that was the one, because it comes with the soft white, we would have to purchase
Right,
other
yeah.
lenses if we wanted other colors, but it's an option if we wanted other colors.
Do you know if other towns do this? Did you talk to anybody?
No, and that's why we thought it'd be a great idea, because
Do you know somebody?
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Actually, is it Belmar or Spring Lake has one on North Lebanon? I just saw it a couple days ago.
Okay.
If you drive by and it's.
Okay, great.
White.
I'll check with them
And all
too.
the lighting's underneath, so it gets diffused by the water above, so going straight up, it's not gonna be as much as a direct lights going straight up. Little less light pollution.
Are there any other members from the commission that wanted to
Thank you,
speak?
thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Did you?
Oh,
Oh,
It's good. I just have a really good. So, my name is William Grafton. I live at 83 Fletcher Lake Avenue in Ocean Grove, New Jersey. And I'm representative of the Fletcher Lake Committee from the Neptune side. So this is the first time I've ever been away to council meetings. So I just wanted to state, as this one to refresh, there is like an ecosystem where they restrict how far is a setting, in if you read the specifications on how far the lights are emitted. And the theory is that you only want to go like a third of the way, and you want to let the top of the water be the ceiling that stops the light from going above. That's the concept. Is it 100%? The answer is absolutely not. But the concept is that you're restricting the light, from that and the specifications. The reason why we only want to do one is, a vendor will say something, but it might not be correct. So by only really doing a trial on one, we can really evaluate. Because none of us who are on a committee want to have any impact to the environment. So there's not this, we want to help it. We want to do something cool, but we don't care about the environment. It's the other way around. We care about the environment more than we want to do something cool. But we actually think that, and I think it's really important that Fletcher's not as big as some other lakes. It's still a big lake. And when you're talking about the environmental impact, there's still a lot of dark places for the drake, the ducks, and anything else that is on the lake, and especially the fish. So, and then running the aerators longer is actually a benefit to the fish. So you can't just look at this and say it's negative to the environment, but we run the aerators longer and we continue to move them down to the west side. We'll see the fish improve. We've already seen the fish improve in the last 6 months. when we reduced the geese count. So we see, there's a lot more people fishing, you can just drive by and see it. A lot more people are, individuals are having picnics and are out enjoying the lake than they have in the past. And we think this is just another stepping stone to make it more attractive and become more recreational. Because let's face it, 6 years ago, that lake was not a recreational lake. Today it is. So we're just trying to move it forward.
Thanks,
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. And welcome to Bradley Beach meetings.
Good evening, my name is Linda Henderson, I'm the secretary of the Fletcher Lake Commission. And I'm here, I live at 101 Webb Avenue in Ocean Grove, I am not a lakefront resident. And so I don't have any personal aesthetics that I would benefit from this. And I think you'll find that the members of the commission who are speaking in favor of this all own property that faces the lake and will personally benefit from these things. Linda Brown and Eric do not represent the commission, they represent themselves. So she spoke as though she represents the entire commission. That is not the case. It's not a unanimous opinion. We seek Bradley Beach's input, as we did with Neptune, just for the benefit of the commission's making their own decision. But this is definitely not unanimous. And on a personal level, Eric is a resident. He is not a member of the commission, and he spoke as somewhat of an authoritarian, as though he was a member.
I most certainly did not say anything like that. My wife spoke.
Well, but that's why I asked, we hear from others, so we're hearing from others, sorry, it was not.
I just don't want there to be some misconception that this is a collective opinion of the commission. We are just seeking the opinion of the Bradley Beach Council to help us make a decision. We are stewards of the lake. We are not supposed to be choosing personal aesthetics to soothe ourselves. Especially personally, if you reside on the lake, that's not what we're here for. Some of the same people who want these lakes are also objecting to replanting trees because it will obscure visibility. I just want to be clear on that. We also had a member of the Bradley Beach community who lives along the lake come to our meeting and complain about the aerators as they are. The hours that they operate, she feels are too late. It's disruptive to her sleep. And this is an 8 p.m. closing that we have right now. The proposal, as it seems to have woven out here, is now 10, 11. That's not inconsistent fashion with what we've been doing, and we already have complaints from people based on the 8 p.m. end of time. The other concern that I have, as do others, who controls the lights and the colors, et cetera, et cetera. We need like a real plan that's not personal, it's community based, and it doesn't need to just take into account the opinion of those who reside along the lake. It needs to take into account the entire community. And I will present to you, I don't have it with me right now, I have an accredited scientist, a PhD in oceanography, who's going to be giving me a written presentation that will give you additional facts that are not AI based, but they're actual long-term scientific facts, and I'll give that to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I was actually gonna ask this question, sorry, but I thought I remember reading something in the CoStar about like a lawsuit in another town because of the aerators, and I said, oh no, that's just because. That had nothing to do with lights, that was the noise from the aerators, was that?
That was
Like Como?
the complaint, just like that.
Right, but I'm saying, but there was like a lawsuit, I think, like
Yes.
Como. And they, okay, so, it's just, but I didn't say anything, because I'm like, well, it was nothing about light, it was the
It's
noise,
the noise.
okay. Okay. I gotta look into that, but.
Yes, Mark, well, I'm sorry, Mark, hold on one second, because you've spoken once, let me ask Rich. I will give you a shot. Mr. Destins.
Hello, everybody, Rich Despens, 600 Third Avenue. I'm the aerator, I'm just, excuse me, I'm the light. There's not a lot to say about it. I used to live in a house. We had a nice, large, masonry patio with about 30 feet of grass. And about an acre and a half lake pond. Beyond that, we had nothing but wetlands and darkness. This lake had two exceptionally large aerators, not lights, aerators that did have lights on. The primary purpose of that was the health of the water in the lake. And it did the job. there was a campaign to save a couple of dollars and put bubblers in that would do the job too. This is what bubblers did, were aerators, excuse me, the light aerators, whatever you want to call them, did work. Stars, we used to sit in the dark on our patio, enjoy fountains. And the stars that we could see from horizon to horizon. That's not an issue whatsoever. How is it going to affect animals? Well, little animals like little bugs and things like that were taken care of by the aerator as well. We were using less chemicals to keep the mosquitoes and other little critters down. The larger animals like geese, mallard ducks, heron, and egrets were all present. So it didn't affect them either. Light pollution, zero. You could look across the top of the lights of the fountains and see light and then black right away. There was very little transition in that. You're concerned with light pollution. I used to be an environmental commissioner in the town, that town. When we went out to inspect the property before the application was set forth, top of our list was light pollution, because that was the large issue in that particular town. Light pollution is a problem today as I speak. Two blatant examples. My living room, which is a block from Main Street, always has a very bright light shining down from the bodega on the 700 block of Main Street. Always. I could take newsprint in a dark room and read it very, very carefully, very clearly. There's another example of light pollution. There's a laundromat at the northern end of town, across the street from the gas station there. You ever see how bright those lights are? It's insane. Anyway, I see no reason not to have something like this, only positive things. And I also think of the quality of life for people, anybody that's exposed to it or living by it. So I encourage you to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, did you have another comment? We're gonna keep you under 5 minutes this time. We're having it all together.
Mark Russell, 220 Lake Terrace. I've lived on the lake for over 20 years. You know, there's been good and bad throughout. We have got a garbage vacuum up in there, it's cleaned up. The lake is not, the lights are not gonna hurt it. It's diffusing, the lights go up, you're not gonna see much going out. When it comes to the amount of people that are for the lights on the committee and not, I would say that more of them do want it. There's maybe 2 or 3 that do not, but they have their own reasons. I mean, for example, I don't care about the geese. I see a lot of other people complain about it, but you know, it's the majority of the town don't like them, so you vote against them. But if it was up to me, at least let the geese be there here first. Point is, the lights really are not affecting, but for the amount of time that they're gonna be on, they're not gonna affect the animals around. If anything, if there's predator foxes, and there's ducks, the ducks can see them sooner. You know, maybe it goes both ways, so. You got one, that's it,
Thank you, sir.
and it was less than 5 minutes.
Well done.
Well done.
Okay, I'm looking around, see nothing else in the room. Anyone on Zoom? No. All right, we will conclude the Fletcher Lake light installation discussion and move on very quickly to Main Street Route 71 speed limit. I'm anticipating this is a very quick presentation. I'm gonna start. Our current speed limit on Main Street is 30 miles per hour. Asbury is already set at 25. Belmar is already set at 25. The 3 towns in between, starting from the south, we've got Avon, Bradley Beach, and Neptune / Ocean Grove, running that 71 corridor. So I've been in touch with the other mayors in those other 2 towns, Ocean Grove / Neptune and Avon. And they are very interested in also reducing their speed limit to 25 miles per hour. The logic to this, it hopefully is obvious, but you know, especially as a summer community, and thank you again, Fletcher Lake folks.
Thank you.
The logic to this hopefully is speed reduction creates greater safety. And specifically, we have jaywalkers in the summer, we have people cutting between cars crossing the street. We have fairly limited sight triangles as they exist today. We can have children and adults riding bicycles on Main Street. And again, ours is a fairly narrow Main Street. So for multiple reasons, these three municipalities agree that we'd like to create a 25-mile-an-hour corridor inclusive of Asbury and Belmar. So we've already drafted a potential resolution, and that if everyone agrees, we'll be voting on it at least. We'll agree to vote on it, and then we'll figure out if we can do it. But so the real workshop here is, anyone raise your hand if you'd have concerns about reducing our speed limit on Main Street. Please.
Only if people have concerns, so when you go to.
Well, I just didn't need everybody to stand up and say it's agreed.
Like when you go to LBI in the winter time, their main drag is 40 miles an hour, but in the summertime, it's 25 miles an hour. Granted, they have to switch the signs out every time the season changes, or 2 times a year. Just an idea, and you can have it.
It's also 5 lanes wide.
That's how Seabright is as well.
Yeah, I mean, it just,
Are they also state highways that we're talking about?
well, there's nobody that lives there during the winter months though, but we're more full-time here, so.
Yeah.
But just an idea that you could just have it slower from like May to November was the date that was for the, but you know what I'm saying, like, it's just, if you need to take a compromise.
Thanks. Yes, sir.
I just want to, another suggestion, it's just Herb Penny 216 Brinley. Can they synchronize the lights if you're gonna do that? You know, I mean, it would be nice if you could just go a straight 25. You know, I mean, if you're gonna go 25, stop, 25, stop. I mean, I think that's what aggravates people, so if there's any way they can synchronize it, I know you got turns but it would make it at least a little bit less, and I think people would tolerate it better, that's all.
If you're talking about lights, Fourth Avenue, when you hit the buttons, it doesn't do anything. It never turns to, it never tells you to walk. So really, Fourth Avenue, yeah.
I've stood there for hours.
Now you know why. Yeah, yeah.
All right, any other comments? Yes. Who's?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, Eileen.
Hi, Eileen. But hold on one second. Who do we have on Zoom? I can't read the name.
Dave Warren.
Dave?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, sir.
He did unmute.
You have the floor.
Trying.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, Dave Rakowski, 304 Third. I agree with the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit on Main. The only concern I have is that technically by law now, the low-speed vehicles, commonly referred to as golf carts, although that's inaccurate, they're exempt. They can't go on Main Street because of the speed limit. If you make it 25, then they will be. I would like you to consider a resolution or ordinance still banning them from Main Street. I think they're unsafe. I think they're a danger. Having investigated a lot of fatal accidents, I can assure you that an accident with a LSV vehicle would be catastrophic. I just can't imagine seeing Bradley Beach go through that. So if you could consider that as a possible ordinance to keep the low-speed vehicles off of Main Street. I know the previous administration has one. It's been a concern of mine for a while. I see families driving them all summer long. They are required to have safety features such as child restraints and seatbelts. I rarely ever see that. I see passengers unbuckled. I see kids on mom's laps. I think you're just waiting for something tragic to happen. Back in 2023, there was that bride down in South Carolina who was killed on her wedding night by a drunk driver. As you know, there's a lot of distractions already on the roads, whether it's cell phones or eating or anything. The cars are bigger, faster. I just think a low-speed vehicle has no business being on a New Jersey street, but what's done is done. They're legal. As long as it's 25 and under, I would like the town to consider a resolution or an ordinance banning them altogether. You can contact the ROC, Jersey City State Police. They'll give you a list of the towns, the residents that have them. You can grandfather them in if you want. But going forward, I'd like you to keep in mind that they really don't belong on Main Street. And in my opinion, they don't belong on any street, but Main Street right now, they are technically not allowed because the speed limit is 30. But if you lower it to 25, keep in mind that they will be allowed on Main Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Whip.
That's for our attorney, if I could turn your, are we allowed to do that? Can we say that low speed vehicles are not allowed on our Main Street, even though the state?
Yes.
We can?
Whole township has a trail for both.
We can do it, okay.
Further, than state
Okay.
road, yes.
It's a state rule that it has to be 25 miles an
That's,
hour or
that's a
less.
statute, yes.
Right, no, I realize that, but I'm saying, can we ban them from our street, even though it's a statewide highway, but he said yes, so.
Okay, oh, that's good, but yeah, right, and most of these low speed vehicles only go 25 miles an hour. So if someone's doing 30, they're obstructing the road. It's, and like Dave said, very dangerous. I agree.
Lavalette has banned them, Stratford Township, Little Silver. So it's been done in New Jersey. They belong in lake communities or retirement villages, not on busy Monmouth County roads. Thank you.
Thank you again for your time. Okay, I'm
Yep.
sorry,
Oh.
Eileen. Forgot.
Eileen Shishes from 12th Avenue. Regarding speed limit, I would like to see it reduced all over town. I mean, we have people, and I've discussed this numerous times, they come flying down from the stop sign all the way down to Ocean Avenue. And just like that gentleman is concerned about a fatal accident, I'm petrified. And I don't know what has to happen. And I just wish we could have a lower speed limit. And I know the police do their job to try to catch the people, but it's hard. Once they go from that stop sign, it's a dead run right down to Ocean Avenue. So, and I know I lived in Hopewell Township before, and I know I brought this up before. Pennington, when you drive through Pennington, you don't dare go over 25 miles an hour. Even if you're invited to a party in Pennington, the host and the hostess will write on the invitation, do not speed through town. You will get a ticket. So it can be done, and I'm not criticizing anybody, but I'm pleading for us to do something about the speed all over town. I hate to see somebody serious again. Thank you.
John, to answer your question, there is actually a statute, you can prohibit on any local, county or state roadway in your municipality, so you could ban them outright if you like, if you want.
Okay. Thank goodness AI, no.
No, that's a real site.
Okay, are there?
I just want to say, you know, on the whole thing, thank you, Mayor, for talking to the neighboring towns. That's just what won me over. You know, if the 3 towns in between the two other 25-mile-an-hour towns want it, so that seems like really common sense. So thank you.
And I should have said, it was not just the mayors of those towns, it was the chiefs of police of those towns, that we are all in agreement. And so if there are no more comments, we can close our workshops and move on to item 7 on the agenda, which is a Juneteenth proclamation. Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Councilwoman Greenblatt, would you do the honors?
I'd be happy to, thank you. Whereas Juneteenth, also known as Emancipation Day, is the oldest known celebration commemorating the end of enslavement in America. And whereas Juneteenth is a day of reflection, a day of renewal, a pride-filled day. It is a moment in time taken to appreciate the progress and contributions made by the African Americans to this society. And whereas Juneteenth is inclusive of all races, ethnicities, and nationalities, recognized by Americans everywhere as a symbolic milestone in our journey toward a more perfect union. And whereas it is a day where we take one step closer together to better utilize the energy wasted on racism, Juneteenth is a day that we pray for peace and liberty for all, a celebration of freedom. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Bradley Beach to hereby proclaim Thursday, June 19th, 2025 as Juneteenth in the Borough of Bradley Beach, and encourage all citizens, young and old, to pay tribute to the journey, embrace the past as well as the future that unity, respect, and appreciation brings. Dated the 5th day of June 2025.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 8 on the agenda, approval of minutes. I'll make a motion that we adopt the minutes from May 20, 2025 council business meeting.
Second,
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Now, item 9 on the agenda, we'll open it up to public comments or questions specifically pertaining to this agenda. Yes.
Greetings. And just to go back to the speed limit. When somebody enters the town, it would be good to have signs that say speed limit strictly enforced, because I really do think that opens people's eyes, so we're gonna do it. And also, I think going back to what Eileen was saying, if those kinds of signs were throughout town, I mean, there's an expense to that, but I do think it works, because it works for me. I see that sign, like, "Ooh, this must be one of those towns, right, that. Monitoring. Wanted to go back to the budget thing and the $380,000 mistake that was corrected and acknowledged, and we appreciate that it was acknowledged. In simplest terms, I just worry about what the public thinks and the crowd of people that I find myself intermingling with. And people are gonna make some kind of a big deal out of that, is my concern. In simplest terms, is it that if we sell the properties and we get, say, $4 million, then that's a good thing for the town? People are still questioning, why didn't we do the public housing or the what is it called again?
Fair share.
Yeah, affordable housing.
So I still hear that rumbling in town. But the thing that I always say is that, yeah, we sell it for 4 million and ongoing, we're gonna get the taxes on those properties, which at minimum, I would think is gonna be $15,000 per property, which we don't have right now. So is that something that in the future is gonna help with our budget, even though there will be a increase this year? But going into following year, that is a positive for our town. So obviously costs go up in general, but I guess I'm just trying to understand in simplest terms that we can count on that revenue now. We were talking about one-time revenue, one-time demolition cost, one-time $4 million. But now we get the ongoing revenue of the taxes, which we didn't have before. Is that a fair thing?
That's correct, although your $15,000.
It's than that, probably, right?
It probably is, but we don't get all of that. That's.
Oh, that's right.
Municipality gets 40%.
Okay, so how much do we get? Which
Well,
also
if-
helps set our
Yeah,
costs.
if the property's worth, 2 million, and it should be worth more, possibly.
Right.
Let's say, because the math is relatively easy, let's say it's 25 million, that's really easy math. Then we got a 22.5 million.
Yeah.
Then we've got a $10 million of rateables, let's say. We're a little below 1% total. 1% of 10 million is 1% is what, 100,000. And of that 100,000, we would get roughly 40%. So we would get roughly 40,000, roughly 10,000 per property, roughly.
And that we can start to count on year after year.
Yeah.
Right,
But the other reference you made, because people have brought this up before, the affordable housing component, we really didn't have much. The opportunity to consider creating affordable housing was to give away one of those 4
Right.
lots. That would have cost the borough the value of $1 million roughly. Could be 900, 800,000, could be 1.1.
and the ongoing tax. too.
And with the loss of tax rateables, because it would have been deed restricted for 30 years. And with the borough's obligation to contribute roughly $150,000 per unit, it would have cost the borough roughly $2 million to generate 3 units. And our professionals at the time said that did not make sense.
Right, it wasn't necessary. Anyway, just the finances of it, I'm trying to bring it down to simplest.
Please,
terms.
yes.
So, and then speaking of finances, I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this, I see it on the agenda, I know there's an executive session tonight. I'm not familiar with Hingston versus Bradley, are you allowed to tell us high level what that lawsuit is about?
Bill, can I ask you
Because
that?
we have to pay for it, lawyer fees, whatever the.
No,
settlement,
it's
like,
an ongoing litigation.
I can't even know what the topic is, like who is this Kingston suing for something?
We're gonna follow our attorney's guidance. So
Okay. That's a new name for me, but I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's not new.
But it hasn't been.
It's
Yeah.
not, no,
No, this is,
some of people's names.
yeah, it's.
Okay, and what was the one, ordinance that you tabled for?
Parking, parking.
We were gonna restrict the entire parking, the parking lot to the north of this building.
Yeah, was
There,
just gonna
that
be
way.
for employees.
It's gonna be for employees and we're still, and there's pushback from residents, pushback from business owners. You know, to create some parking for their businesses. So we don't have solutions yet, but we're trying to give it more time.
I just hadn't heard what you tabled, right?
Yep. Mr. Shishis.
Thank you.
Jim Schish, 112, Fifth Avenue. I'd like to speak in support of resolution 2025-211. This resolution, which addresses solicitation of proposals for a financial analysis of our sewer infrastructure. This resolution is consistent with the recommendation made at a workshop on March 28th, 2024, where Scott King, an attorney with Hodis, had a lot of experience with sales and instances where sales did not go through, a lot of experience with this whole issue of whether or not a municipality should sell their sewer infrastructure. At the workshop, he made a neutral presentation where he discussed the pros and the cons of selling or not selling. And based on his experience and knowing what we have done so far with respect to the probably going back to 2019 with the work that Rick and I did in conjunction with the strategic plan, that his recommendation was we should do exactly what's in this resolution, that we should, as a borough, have a financial analysis done that would, among other things, tell us what is the value of our sewer infrastructure if we were to sell it. He was not saying sell it, he was saying due diligence is we should be evaluating it. So with that, I'm pleased to support this resolution.
Thank you. Any other comments about today's agenda? Yes, sir, Mr. Hill.
Thomas J. Cohen, 612 Third Avenue. I like, the comments that we've heard from the public about 319 Lorraine. Is that we really need to determine, and we will very shortly, what the net benefit is gonna be financially. And I'm hoping that when the auction takes place in this room, that everybody can see what it's gonna be. It'll be totally transparent. And then we can do a presentation on the outstanding bonding and expenses that we have. So we can really come up with a number. As that applies to affordable housing, I would hope that this council, if that number is a successful number, voluminous money, I hope, is that we could make a donation to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which has been fallow due to the previous two administrations. So I think that would be a really good spot for us but again, we need to determine what the number is. The other thing I'd like to say about the affordable housing is that if these 4 lots are sold, anybody building them, now that Mayor Gubitosi has enacted the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, which was supposed to be done originally, we could generate somewhere about another $40,000, hopefully, to the trust fund from that construction on the property. So again, there's 2 affordable housing benefits I think we can accomplish here at the same time. I did want to thank you for bringing up the review and proposals for the review of the sewer utility. The previous administration, took meetings with utility companies in closed session, which were found to be improper by the courts. So I'm just happy that you're doing it the correct way by putting this out to the public. They'll see it. We'll see what the RFPs come back, and then we'll be able to review those documents and mutually as residents and a council, we can make this whether that's gonna go. Also, I want to thank you for the disposition of salvage vehicles. I understand those segways were in here. I haven't seen those around town in a while, so it'd be nice if we could just get those out of the storage shed and bring some money in. And thank you for your follow-up on the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit. It's greatly needed, and it will assist us in safety in a lot of ways. We're becoming more and more a walking town, and this will assist. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll close the public comments, item 9, and move on to item 10, ordinances. We have no ordinances for introduction. We have tabled for adoption ordinance 2025-17. So we'll move to ordinance 2025-18, which is the ordinance amending chapter 78 personnel policies of the borough's revised general ordinances to revise the borough's employee military leave policy. Any questions or comments from the council? Any questions or comments from the?
You have to open the public.
I have to make a motion to have the public comment if you would like. Is there a motion? I mean, that is the motion.
Second,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Noble,
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt,
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki,
Yes.
Mr. Weber,
Yes.
Mayor Gubatesi.
Can I vote yes now?
Yes.
Yes. Are there any public comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public session and vote to approve ordinance 2025-18 to adopt.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatesi.
Yes. Moving to item 11, communications. I'm going to just flip the order ever so slightly and take the 4th bullet on our agenda, infrastructure projects update, and ask Councilman Nowicki to provide a quick update there.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to introduce something that we have been hearing about all the infrastructure that's going on in town, right? And all these different projects. We have sewer projects, we have promenades, we have Main Street, we have so many different projects, and they affect different parts of our community. And then having a workshop is great. But I started to think about this a little more comprehensively of what other ways can we be more transparent? How can we engage the public? More, with further engagement, more communication, more feedback. And then I started to think, what is our overall process, for the borough, and set up a consistency so that the community would understand what are we doing about these projects? How are we, what's intended on this communication and how we're going to communicate? I'm done. So I actually penned a document here. I shared it with the mayor and council, and so I wanted to introduce it here as well. And it basically is the infrastructure communication plan. And it basically goes through and it discusses each of the elements that we have at our disposal to engage and communicate, starting with the council and the advisory roles of commissions, task forces, and departments. And then I have a discussion in here about what are we looking for? We're looking for these commissions to bring projects. We want our departments of the DPW or the various commissions to bring the needs of the town up through to the administration and the governing body to consider the needs of the town as well as the community. And then as we start to identify these projects, we also want to use those groups to help build consensus, like Fletcher Lake, meeting with the Environmental Commission and being able to discuss this and build more consensus around things like what are we doing about the lights, and is it the right thing to do for the community? And we start to talk about Main Street, we start to talk about Sylvan Lake. These become much more complex projects. And so it requires more engagement, more communication. So we have the council workshops. The council workshops are a great venue. We have our engineer here, we have the council. It's an opportunity for us as a council to deliberate in front of the public, as well as have you come out and speak to us about your concerns. And we can take that information, digest it, feed it back to the engineer and be able to make informed decisions. And then I've introduced some new things for considerations. An infrastructure public awareness meeting, or IPAs. And the idea of this would be information centers that we would hold either here this meeting room or at the Biasi Center at the fire department. In order to be able to have an open house on specific projects, that would give a window of time during the week where community members can come who are interested to be able to hear about the project, engage, note their concerns or get educated and provide feedback to the team about that project. And so that's one thing. So these IPA meetings would be used for, say, our sewer program. It would be used for the Sylvan Lake program, Main Street. So that information will be out there and be able to be communicated to the overall public, and then get that feedback, document it, write it down, and be able to address those concerns and that information. The last piece of this, I coined the term walkabouts. Somebody thought it was from Australia, but I'm not. But the idea of walkabouts, and we just did this recently, and Councilwoman Greenblatt will share our experience on that. The idea of a walkabout is that concerned the administration, the VA, council people, that we would come, or even our Department of Public Works if appropriate, to come around to the community and come to knock on the door, leave a flyer behind. And that laid out on the chairs the 319 Lorraine project and the demolition. That was a flyer that we actually went around, knocked on doors. And so that concept of us coming out, working for you, sharing the information as we receive it, what is going on with this project, and have a discussion with the residents in the project area. And so that's the communication walkabout concept that we're going to start to do as well for these projects. And then last, the communication tools. We have a lot of tools, technology, some of it's archaic, some of it's in disarray, it needs work. But all these infrastructure projects need to be out on our website timely, so that any community member can look up and say, well, what's going on with Main Street? What's the update on the promenade? What's going on at Sylvan Lake? What's our sewer program? What's the next project that we're gonna be doing sewer work on? And then updates about what is the status of those projects, so that we have a one-stop shop of where that information is and what's going on. And then we can also use that to advertise our walkabouts, as well as our information and infrastructure public awareness meetings. So this here is going to get published. I believe we're going to share this out once we finalize it. And I just think it's a great way for us to really truly do our job for you of communicating with you of what these projects are and why we're doing them. So with that, I wanted to turn it over back to the mayor and maybe Councilwoman Greenblatt.
Yes, so number one, thank you, Councilman. Councilman Nowicki kind of spearheaded this. I mean, in so many ways, this should have been obvious to us all, but as you mentioned, we have a lot of different ways we could be communicating, and at any given time, we do any one of those. But Councilman Nowicki kind of helped us organize our thinking and formulate a process so we can do it all more consistently. Again, it's all in the spirit of transparency and making sure we communicate through as many different vehicles as we can. Specifically, I'll give Councilwoman Greenblatt an opportunity to describe our most recent effort.
So thank you, Mayor Gubitosi and Councilman Nowicki. You know, we've also recognized that we do have so many infrastructure projects and that they're complicated. There are multiple phases in many cases, and it is critical to keep the community involved, to get input and so forth. So I think this is really a wonderful thing. So we started actually this past Tuesday to update the nearby residents of what to expect in terms of 319 Lorraine, because that's something that particularly those who live near the property will be mindful of, especially as we're coming into the summer months. So we, three council folk here, walked around most of the block of Lorraine. I think with the exception of the 500 and 600 block, the north side of Brindley and the south side of McCabe and the cross streets, to advise them on what to expect. So basically, at this point, now and over the next 3 weeks, there will be environmental remediation and pest control that's taking place on the property. That will take about 3 weeks. And that takes us to the end of June, basically, on or about June 30th, the demolition process will begin. And again, we're going to circle back with the residents to confirm exactly when the demolition is going to start, whether it's June 30th or July 2nd or whatever. So everyone is fully aware. The demo, actually, the physical demo likely will be about a 2 to 6 day process, some thereabouts. And removal of all the debris, removal of all of the elements of the structure. And that will probably also be about a 3-week process from the beginning of the actual demo to the grading, the topsoil and the seeding. So, and then that should be completed sometime toward latter July. And then by August, certainly, we hope to go into a situation where we're auctioning the properties. This is a one sheet that we had shared, an informational one sheet, and this is really how we're gonna be going forward with the other projects that are going on, where the council is going to be engaged in communicating with the residents. So in terms of the asbestos removal and the pest control, it's all by state standards and borough engineer oversight. There's a dust control element via a water application. All of this information, I believe, is on the website or
It's being posted.
it's being posted today or tomorrow. The road and sidewalk will remain opened. It's, you know, people are encouraged to use the other side of the street just because it's a little bit further away, but the road will remain open during this process. It's recommended with any demolition, you might want to close your windows if you're right near the building during the actual demolition, because there will be some airborne. I think in the case of any demolition, that's the case. And then also the property will be graded so it does not impact the adjacent residents. So it'll be graded more to the street of Madison and Lorraine. So that's basically it in terms of this process.
I'd just like to add, if I could, it was a great experience walking around Lorraine and the adjacent streets, Benny McCain, and council president. DeNovo also joined us, and it was really a good experience. And I think the residents really appreciated us taking the initiative to knock on their door and explain to them that what was going on with the demolition, what the status was, and that, you know, to be aware. And I just think that was just a great experience to do that.
I agree. Thank you for coming up with this idea. I think a lot of people just want to be in the loop, what's happening, they're driving by, what's going on, and now they have a phone number they can call anytime, which is your phone number, Matt. And I share that with everyone too, and so they know what's happening, and I think it's a nice courtesy, and I think it's all part about being transparent with everything that's going on, and I appreciate that, and the neighbors really appreciate it too. So thank you, Paul. And thank you, Shauna. That was a nice day. It was a lot of fun meeting people.
And Matt was with us also.
And Matt, yes, thank you, Matt.
That was assigned all the difficult houses. And just to show you that no communication process is perfect, someone, I won't say who, was chastised for handing out paper. So that happens.
Yeah, some people prefer emails, yeah.
Well, we're trying. That's the message here. Okay, so moving through communications, I will provide a couple of quick financial updates. One, I spoke in the very beginning of this year, January of this year, about the idea of establishing task forces. And we're launching the first of those task forces tonight. I'm very happy to announce that we have roughly 8 members of the community who have volunteered to serve on our financial task force. And I'll read those names quickly. We have it in a memo to the Borough Council. J.L. Juarez, Mr. Herb Kenny, who is with us tonight, Mr. Larry Bagwell, who I don't believe is with us, Mike Flynn, Peter Polity, Rick Bartolome, who is with us tonight, Brigitte McGuire, who is with us tonight, and Carol Casagrande, who is not with us tonight, but interestingly, while I reached out to most of these folks a week ago, Carol confirmed she wanted to be on the task force at 3:30 this morning.
Oh, wow.
She almost missed the memo. But thank you all for your willingness to volunteer to help the borough. Over the next few days, probably over the weekend, I'll start to provide communication specifically about getting this group together and setting out a strategy for moving forward. Then separately, I just wanted to provide a little more of an update, financially oriented. And that is that on June 18th, our next council meeting, the plan at this moment is that Mr. Fred Ebenow, who is a CMFO, Certified Municipal Financial Officer, who many of you may recall, we hired earlier this year to do a financial look back for us. He's completed his review. He's submitted a draft of his report to me already. He's making some final adjustments, working with our current CFO, Jeanette Larison. And he will we'll share that report with the public, and he'll be here to present it in an overview fashion and answer any questions anyone might have. Now let me find my place, but that concludes the communications. And I will move to item 12 on the agenda, resolutions. We have the consent agenda and
Yes, I'd like to, make, if you could, vote 2025-200. Can we vote that out separately, please?
yes, we can. Any other comments or requests? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda resolutions, item 2025-197 through 2025-204, but excluding item 2025-200 to be voted out separately.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Okay, for item 2025-200, I will recuse myself.
I would like to make a motion that we approve item resolution 2025-20.
200.
Oh, 200. I'm still in January. Okay, 200, yes.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Recuse. Okay, moving to individual resolutions. Item 2025-205 is a resolution opposing the inclusion of new offshore oil and gas leasing off the coast of New Jersey in the 11th National Outer Continental Shelf Oil and Gas Leasing Program. I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-205.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
I'm gonna abstain and just explain to people, I'm working on this for my job and I have an MOU with my employer about recusing myself about stuff we're doing, but I'm actually working to get this resolution passed in many towns in Monmouth County, so I just can't vote on it myself here, so abstain.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Item 2025-206 authorizing the disposition or salvage of vehicles and equipment in the possession of the borough at auction on govdeals.com and other disposal in accordance with NJSA statute 40A:11-36. This is one of a number of items requested by our QPA.
Can I ask a question or make a
Please.
comment? I read through the types of things that we're gonna get rid of and the segues were on there and then I had to think like, well, kind of, why do we buy them in the first place? I don't know, I mean, I'm a little concerned if there was like the new kind of fancy thing and we just bought them, whereas like bicycles work really good and things like that. So I hope going forward, if that was practice in the past, going forward, we'll just stick with like tried and true things that work and not fancy new things, because after we use them for a few years, we seem to get away from them. So that's just an editorial on that. So,
Can I ask a silly question?
How many years has Mr. Weber been on the council?
Items of jewelry.
No, I was gonna say, not only because you were probably on the council when that was.
When it was-
I don't ever remember doing the segue. They
It's a
showed
long
up,
time.
right? But
I thought the Memorial Day Committee purchased.
oh,
this.
that's probably true. That could be
there
true.
you
Well, either way, we're getting rid of it now. So I was just, so apparently they weren't that useful
It had to
over the
be.
long run. So
6 years, 7 years ago, it
yeah,
was a long
you're right
time.
that they did.
Yeah.
15 maybe.
Just joking,
Can
John.
I ask an even sillier question?
Yes.
What's a segue?
It's
This you stand up on and you go like this.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
My question was jewelry, what, what is that about?
confiscated jewelry?
No, it's just found property.
Oh.
After a certain
Found
time period.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
any other comment or question? I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2025-206, authorizing the disposition or salvage of vehicles, equipment, jewelry, segways, etc.
Second,
Mr. Noble?
yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. 2025-207, awarding Verizon Business Solutions for wireless telecommunications and television services. Any comments or questions? I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-207, awarding Verizon Business Solutions.
Second,
Mr. Noble?
yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. 2025-208, authorizing a competitive contracting process for the hiring of a vendor for police extra duty scheduling and processing. My understanding is we've done this for many years. We just haven't always officially approved it. So make sure that we're.
Can I actually ask,
the Georgia solution.
so the vendor, is that sort of like a middle person to arrange that? Okay. So that's.
Yeah, so they'll communicate, vendor communicates through them, and then they'll communicate to the town, they'll handle all the money, and the process.
That's what most towns do, they get.
Yes.
Right.
And we have a QPA on steroids, by the way. This gentleman who's joined us a month or so ago has been phenomenal. So he's really helping us clean up a lot of our kind of ancillary, what we might have thought was ancillary reporting, but he's really getting us in line. So I will motion that we approve 2025-208, authorizing the competitive contracting process for hiring of a vendor for police extra duty scheduling and processing.
Second,
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. 2025-209, a resolution requesting the New Jersey Department of Transportation to reduce the speed limit on State Route 71, Main Street, from 30 to 25 miles per hour.
Second,
Yeah, I'll
Mr.
make
Noble?
that motion.
yeah. Did you make the motion?
I
Okay, you did.
Kind of did.
Okay, okay. Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. 2025-210, authorizing a memorandum of understanding with Neptune Fire District Number 2 for the temporary provision of fire hose equipment to the Bradley Beach Fire Department. Any comment or discussion? I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-210.
Second.
Oh.
Second.
I don't want to hog all the seconds.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. 2025-211, authorizing solicitation of proposals by a fair and open process for professional financial consulting services to conduct a financial analysis of the borough's sewer utility to establish appropriate connection fees and explore the possibility of privatizing the borough's sewer utility. Comments or discussion?
One comment, as you know, we are going through a process of grant funding for going forward with the entire sewer replacement, continuing that process. What is the time frame for this? Will it give us the ability to kind of be able to assess the value? I mean, what is the time frame for this, given we're approving this at this point?
I don't have a specific time frame, but Matt, I don't know if you
Well,
do.
the council approves this tonight, then the QPA will go out to bid for these services. Maybe that's 3 weeks. Then I'll bring them back in, analyze them, and then the council will award a contract for someone to start this process. How long it'll take them? Hopefully no more than a month. Come back with what the value of the sewer system is.
So like a 2 to 3 month process from start to finish?
Today going forward, yeah.
Yeah, which puts us in a good position. I mean, we're going down 2 different roads to be able to make an informed decision on our sewer system.
Yeah, we weren't gonna exclude one with the other, so you're right.
Right.
It's parallel paths. See if they converge or not. But
and make the best decision.
yeah, it's all due diligence.
Yeah, I would just add to that, that it's more than just selling the potentially, the value of the system. It also will give us more informed decisions on what is the investment that we would have to make to improve the system ourselves. And compared to somebody else doing that, as well as the other impact to the DPW and workforce that currently is involved with the sewer system here in the town. So it's not just, hey, would somebody willing to pay for the sewer system? It's more complicated than that, but it will help us with a better foundation of the investment we need to make and whether or not we're making the right choices to actually rehabilitate and replace the sewers. We're only 40% done with our sewers at this point. We have another 60% to go, and it's gonna be a load. And we are pursuing grant money and looking for design and construction. But again, if it's a better decision to sell the system, we need to know that before we go down the path too far to continue to do.
Exactly, that's why I was wondering. I mean, and I think that the technical assistance grant does not require that we necessarily go, if we get that and use it, that we go forward with the actual project.
I'm just wondering if we can actually take that. The analysis that is being done here, can we actually pay for that through that grant as well and add that into that grant to actually pay for this? So I think we should look into that as well, Mayor. Matt, because this is actually determining our financial analysis for the replacement of the system. So there may be a way to cover some of this cost perhaps. That'd be great.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, I'll make a motion that we approve 2025-211, authorizing the solicitation of proposals for fair and open process for evaluating our sewer system.
Second,
Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. 2025-212, authorizing award for of professional engineering services with CME Associates for the Sylvan Lake bulkhead development. Councilman Nowicki, do you want to just speak briefly to this?
Yeah, just to inform everyone on what this is really about. Conceptual design had been approved for the bulkhead replacement. This is the grant money, 2.4 million that DOT has given the borough last year to replace the failing bulkhead from Evergreen along Bradley Boulevard to Madison. So the conceptual design was done. The CME was only approved by this council to only do the conceptual design. This will enable us to progress that design to the next phase. In order to, we are required to resolve what it is that we are building here and actually go to contract by April of next year based on this grant. So it is timely that we advance the design. And then we're also going to use public information centers, walkabouts, to really build that consensus on the final solution of what we're doing at Sylvan Lake, working with the Lake Commission. So this will enable CME to engage and take the next steps.
And this is very clearly a procedural process we're going through. But what everyone should appreciate is it also is reflective of a very collaborative effort by consisting of a number of engineering firms, outside advisors. Councilman Nowicki has kind of taken the lead on behalf of the borough, actually replacing me as the Sylvan Lake liaison. And I've tried to usher us to this point over the last 4 or 5 years. It's exciting to see us starting to actually make this progress. But people think of this as Bradley Beach's grant, but Bradley Beach is working very collaboratively in terms of directing how this money is spent to make sure that any modifications done to that bulkhead will not only address Bradley Beach's needs, but will address more broadly the needs of the lake and the health of the lake. So I'm really excited to see this happening, and thank you, Paul, for taking that lead. Paul, would you like to make a motion on this?
I would make a motion to approve 2025-12, 212, authorizing the word professional engineering services with CME Associates for the Sylvan Lake bulkhead development.
Yes. Ms. DeNoble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Item 2025-213 is the bill list for June 5th. Any comments or questions about the bill list?
The questions were answered, thank you.
I'll make a motion. Great, I'll make the motion to approve 2025-212, I'm sorry, -213. Bill list for June 5th, 2025.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. For all of you who have been waiting in suspense for 2025-214, we had no bidders. So this was put on the agenda because we were waiting for that result. We had no bidders for the Newark Avenue concession. We are required by law to once again do a second RFP. We have folks who have identified interest. It's very likely that we will receive a bid, but it's no guarantee. If we don't receive a bid on this second round, the borough will be free to negotiate with anyone that, makes sense for the borough. So, but at this point in time, I'll make a motion that we table 2025-214, awarding a bid for Newark Avenue concession.
Second.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Gubatosi?
Yes. Item 13, announcements, we have none. Item 14A, the administrative report, Mr. Gordy.
Just in the essence of time, Mayor, I'll suspend my 45-minute report for the next meeting.
For the next meeting, okay, thank you. 14B is mayor and council reports. I will start with Councilman Weber.
Also, in the interest of time, this is gonna be pretty short. One big thing, the environmental commission is we're doing the knotweed removal. It's this weekend. It's at the Maritime Forest. Bring your garden shears, come help us remove the invasive plant Japanese knotweed. Fletcher Lake is having cleanup that day, so we thought it'd be a great day to do it. That's Saturday, the 7th. It's from 10 to 12. So show up at the Maritime Forest, bring some garden gloves, bring some clippers, and we will see people there. And that's kind of it. Report.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman Greenblatt.
So my first report will be the Fletcher Lake Commission. There has been no meeting since our last council meeting. And again, just to reiterate, the Fletcher Lake Commission is doing a cleanup this Saturday, June 7th, 10 a.m. to noon. Refreshments will be served.
We'll come down.
That's right. So, and please meet at the bridge on the Ocean Grove side. Many thanks to our Bradley Beach DPW for staining the Fletcher Lake Bridge. The next commission meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June 12th at 6 p.m. The Arts Council met Friday, May 30th. The Arts Council will host this weekend summer palette and art exhibit at Posh Real Estate, and it runs June 7th to the 14th. An artist reception will be held this Saturday, June 7th from 4 to 6 p.m. Please stop in and support your local artists exhibition. Sunday, June 8th, the council will present One Sweet Dream, Abbey Road and Beyond at 1 p.m. at the Riley Park Band Shell. Arts Council member Olivia Miranda and her dancers will dazzle and entertain with the inspiration of the Beatles. There will be a book talk launch and a signing event for Bradley Beach author Laurie Krine's newly published Chasing Bruce, Through the Backstreets and Beyond. This also takes place at Posh Real Estate, Wednesday, June 11th from 5 to 7 p.m. Interested volunteers are specifically invited to attend and get acquainted with the new Arts Council. The next Arts Council meeting will be an in-person brainstorming session, date to be determined. And finally, the recreation has not met since our last meeting. Upcoming Father's Day kickball event is scheduled for Friday, June 13th at 6 p.m. at the Recreation Field. The event is open to all, but participants must register on Community Pass. Participants get a t-shirt and a meal ticket, and the winning team gets bragging rights till next year. There'll be music, fun, and other games for family and friends who come to cheer them on. Hot dogs, drinks, and snacks are available for purchase. Summer Camp will have a full house with 155 campers registered. Thanks to Courtney Pappas for working so hard to accommodate an excess of 35 campers to an already full program, because Bradley Beach does not want to turn anyone away. Onboarding of staff begins June 23rd. Camp begins Monday, June 30th. A reminder about ongoing events. The Senior Club meets June 25th They will be taking a summer break, but will reconvene in September. They will be meeting in the Biasi Center at noon on the 25th. Summer Bocce League registration opens on June 16th at 9 a.m. Summer League will run from July 8th to August 28th. Be sure to sign up as spots fill quickly. Excuse me. Salted Yoga hosts a full schedule of activities this month. Check the calendar on the rec webpage for dates. Please go to the rec homepage for details and community pass for registration. The rec board's next meeting is Monday, June 9th, 6:30 p.m. at the rec center. That's my report.
Thank you, Council President Jane DeNoble.
I will be as quick as possible as well. The Bradley Beach Tourism had a meeting on June 3rd. They had a sponsor update. Thank you to Posh Realty, Darcy's Tavern, Monmouth County Tourism, CME, UVA, Mermaids, New Jersey American Water, Summertime Surf, and Visit New Jersey, as they all made beautiful donations to the tourism department. They have an amazing lineup for the summer, and their trust is currently $86,000. The Board of Vet met June 20th. The 8th grade Million Coin Challenge reached a total goal of $1,000. That's used for the Washington DC trip. They are very pleased that they got an improvement grant of $88,000 from the Department of Community Affairs in New Jersey. And they're going to use it to begin replacing and upgrading their playground area, and particularly to make it more ADA compliant and accessible for all students. I'd also like to thank Senator Ben Gopal, Assemblywomen Marge Donlin and Luann Peter-Paul for their support in helping secure the grant. And also, Dr. Heidelberg would like me to share that there's an exciting highlight in the news that New Jersey has officially been ranked #1 in the nation for K-8-12 education. So Monmouth County typically ranks first in the state as well. So he said, if you think about it, we're a strong school in the best county, in the best state for education in the country. And that's something we should all be very proud of. One last thing, with the Shade Tree had a meeting last night, and they had one application, 606 4th Avenue. They are removing one tree, but they're planting several trees. Kudos to them. Their account is currently $15,200. And Chairman Larry Bagwell did bring to my attention that they had misallocation of funds dating back to 2023. He shared with me many unanswered emails, and which led to no explanation where these funds went. I did share that with Mayor Gubitosi this morning, and by 9:08 a.m., we had this in the hands of our new CFO to investigate, and on the list for the new finance committee to analyze as well. So thank you for that. And I hope they have an answer soon as where those funds went to. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Paul Nowicki.
Thank you, Mayor. Our police report, police department made one arrest for an outstanding contempt of court warrant. Officers investigated 6 motor vehicle accidents between May 19th and June 1st. All residents are reminded to lock their vehicles and remove their key fobs. Please also remove any valuable items from inside of your vehicle. With the summer months upon us, please also remember to lock your bicycles and have children wear bicycle helmets. And that even goes for adults. Next is the fire department report for the month ending on May 31st. The fire department responded to 5 day calls, 6 night calls, for a total of 11 calls. 4 were fire alarm activations, 4 were carbon monoxide alarms, 2 were for odor of natural gas, and 1 was for removal of a dangerous tree limb. The department conducted a live burn training at the Monmouth County Fire Academy and participated in the annual Memorial Day Parade and ceremony in Riley Park. There were 2 requests for mutual aid from other fire departments. The department fulfilled 100% of our assignments for this operational period. The first aid report for the operational period, the squad responded to 10 day calls, 6 night calls for a total of 16 calls, 12 were for medical, 4 for fire. The squad conducted 1 drill for the safety and education of the membership. The squad provided medical overwatch for the Tears Foundation Walk. The squad participated in the celebration of the Bradley resident, as did all of our other services for the who turned 100 years old. or in here it says 100 years young. Squad requested no mutual aid assistance for this operational period. The squad fulfilled 100% of their assignments for this operational period, and we are still looking for volunteers for the first aid. We are offering free training for qualified individuals. Anyone wishing to volunteer for the first aid squad, applications can be found on the borough website. Also, this Saturday is the Bradley Food Pantry Pickup. The fire department goes around throughout the town. Please have your donations out at 9 a.m. The need for food has grown by over 30% this year. Critical need for dry beans, cereal, granola bars, pasta, oil, feminine hygiene products, diapers, and toiletries. All donations will benefit the Bradley Food Pantry. Online cash donations are welcomed as well. And then for the Sylvan Lake Commission, our last meeting, there was a lot of collaboration around the multiple projects that are being pursued within the lake. And that's a continuing process. And so that will continue on for this next meeting. And then also they're looking to engage the public in one of these public information centers to come out and share that information of what's being considered as alternatives for some of the projects around the lake. And that's my report there.
Thank you, Councilman. My report, I'm gonna focus on two things to also try to be brief. One is the Memorial Day weekend that we just experienced, and miraculously, the weather held up for us. I thought we had a great parade. We had a wonderful ceremony. Bradley Beach recognized our 20th fallen hero with a new monument. I don't think we could have had a better weekend. And I want to thank so many people. I'm gonna include absolutely the police, our fire and first aid, many Bradley Beach employees. The two that I want to call out, Michelle Wiley and Amy Hall, did just yeoman's work getting everything organized for us and getting a lot of the production behind the scenes taken care of. So kudos to them. It just made me proud to be a resident of this town. And then to prove that we don't spend a lot of time coordinating our presentations, I also want to call out the Bradley Food Pantry, working in conjunction with the BBBCA. As Councilman Nowicki just mentioned, Saturday, 2 days from now, very important to get any donations that you care to make to the food pantry out on your front porch by 9 a.m. I won't recite the full list again, but any kind of goods that can help. The pantry currently serves, and I know at a minimum, Council President DeNoble is an active volunteer. They currently serve 2,400 families a week. That's a huge burden. It's evidence of a huge food crisis. So the more Bradley Beach, our residents can do as a community to help that event, obviously the better, and we can all take more pride in that. I also see Julie Natitis in the room, and if I recall Julie correctly, it was your brainchild many years ago to get that first townwide collection process going. So thank you for your contribution many years ago. And that 9 a.m. pickup, get that food ready, will be it'll be highlighted by fire trucks and ambulances and whatever else we have running their sirens and blowing their horns at 9 a.m. So I don't know if the noise ordinance is gonna kick in, but please look for that. And again, if you can make donations, leave it out visibly on your front porch. And that concludes my comments. So now we can open it to public comments, anything at all, whether or not it's on the agenda. Ms. Natitis.
Julie Natitis, 605 Merrick Avenue. First and foremost, I do want to thank everybody for Memorial Weekend. It was just fabulous. I moved here in 2014. It's like the best weekend ever. The band, the Pat Roddy band, the crowd, it was like going to the Stone Homing. You know, it was like standing room only in the back, and it just was well run. It really was a great day. And the memorial service, I don't know how you're gonna top yourself, because that was just amazing. So thank you for that. I wanted to talk about, I know there's like such problems for York Avenue for the concession stand. And I was just wondering, since we really are just having such problems, it's historically been a problematic area. Have we ever thought about just maybe having rotated food trucks? You know, instead of someone having to spend the amount of money that you have to do to secure it, you know, for the entire summer. Because I know a lot of the food trucks, you know, they have trouble, making a living, so, and it's a lot of money. Rightly so, and you do provide the pad and electricity or whatever, but maybe think about just having ongoing food trucks and they're rotated. And then this way, there's no obligation on their part, no obligation kind of on our part, in and out. Just a thought.
I think it's a great idea. Obviously, the challenge is we want to have a concession and a vibrant, good concession that everybody likes. When you go to pop-ups, it's a lot more scheduling, it's a lot of potential for, hits and misses, people show, don't show. In a perfect world, we have a very wonderful concession in place. If no one materializes, we certainly will consider all of
It's
this.
just an idea, it's just like we've
Yeah.
struggled since I've been here, just with that location, so just a food for thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Other hands raised, Mia?
Me and Roland 302 Fourth Avenue, just a couple comments on the beach. You've asked me, how come the Moby mats are shorter this year? Have they been all laid out, or is it just pre-season?
They're
Seems
less-
that on Fourth Avenue, they're running really short.
They're less short today than they were yesterday. We've extended them.
Didn't go there today. but-
Yeah, and there's, I won't bore us with a lot of detail, but there were reasons, very specific reasons related to the maintenance and the amount of work involved with DPW and maintaining them. Looking at other neighboring towns, Avon, Spring Lake. Spring Lake, for example, has 22 beach entrances. 5 of them have Moby mats. The other 19 have nothing. So it's my brainchild to try to cut back the Moby mats. And honestly, we've had some residents raise concerns. Checked with Sean Heater, our beach manager, who daily was inquiring of our badge checkers, and they said they were getting no complaints. But all that said, there were 3 or 4 or 5 fairly vocal voices saying, more or less raising the question that you did, why? And the short answer was, we don't have to cut back as much as we did. So we've added back now, they go beyond the dunes.
Okay. It's a group of older women that go to the end of the beach, and I always say hello to them, and they ask me, like, how come they're so short? And I could see that they need that, they like that, having that entrance, okay.
The goal, by the way, on that is just, we have more beach coverage than we did a year ago, even before we extended these because of the 2 handicap areas. The biggest challenge is, you could get it to a point where you covered the entire beach with Moby mats and
Yeah,
then
then it's
everybody can
ridiculous.
access
I
it.
get it. And then I thought I was looking on our website that music cannot be played on the beach. And I don't know if everybody's gonna throw eggs at me, but it's really uncomfortable to be on the beach when somebody is blasting boom, 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 boom. And it's not music that I wanna listen to or other people wanna listen to, but yet they think it's their party, their space. And I remember a few years ago inquiring about this, and I saw that it was listed as one of the rules. I can't find it on the website anymore. Was that changed?
Nope.
I don't know.
Chief.
They're supposed
Under
they can
rules,
play-
it's
they're
not
supposed to
there,
use
but
headphones.
straight
Yeah,
rules.
let's ask Chief.
But I think I found an ordinance or something at one.
ordinance. It's still
It's never been posted on the signs. I noticed we have new signs with new rules, and it says no smoking, no
Pretty sure
dogs.
it's on the
Dogs do less harm than the music.
sign, right when you go on it.
It's always been on the large sign.
It's not, I looked on
Let's
Fourth
say,
Avenue,
it's on.
Fourth Avenue doesn't have it, so, and that, I don't know if it's representation of all the other.
Follow up, I'm not aware. No one.
It's uncomfortable also to ask somebody,
Sure.
stop playing it, and I can't say, well, it says it right as you come onto the beach. Like, I have nothing to back myself up.
This is a surprise to me. No one authorized removal of that language. I'll find out what happened. But Chief, your people are still enforcing this. And so,
I don't wanna have to.
If you
enforce
see
that.
a
That's
special,
okay.
ask
You don't
one
have
of
to.
the specials, but if you feel uncomfortable, someone might see you. can call us.
Another police chief years ago told me, just call me whenever somebody's making noise on the beach. I'm like, I don't wanna bring it, have to make a phone call. I just wish there was a sign that said it, so people who are visiting this town will read it when they come onto the beach.
And let's remember, Ms. Mullen has a good track record on signs, because you pointed out the other signs, like the going to the, on the,
Yeah.
cross street, and you were right, and they picked it right away. Good track record on stuff.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful to know.
Thank you. Rick. Ray, you next.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Hey, that's fine.
Okay.
604
Then
Bradley
Rick.
Boulevard. While we're talking about the beach, I have some issues about the beach lockers. So I moved here about 3 years ago and immediately signed up for a beach locker. I was 15th on the list. This year, I'm still 15th on the list. I would like to work with someone, whoever would like to work with me. I think there's two issues about the beach lockers. The first is who can get a beach locker? And the second is how do they get a beach locker? Now, other towns have a smaller audience. They do it for residents only. I get it. There's more demand than lockers. And so when you have more demand than you have lockers, you have to figure out what you're gonna do. To me, that's we at one time had it for residents, as I understand it. We opened it up to non-residents. I also understand it's hard to undo sometimes something that you've done. It takes more work, but you gotta do the work sometimes because a lot of people are unhappy. And at this rate, I don't know if I'll be alive to ever get a locker. Because of the second issue. The second issue is the procedure for how you get one. There's loopholes in the system where the list is really valueless because people sell their lockers when they sell their houses. There's ways to do it. It would be, to me, the equivalent of going to motor vehicle and getting a real ID with no proof of ID, with not having 6 points, having 1 point. And so the second problem, I think, can definitely be cleared up. And there are towns that have ways that they do it. You have to show up in person, you have to show up with your tax bill. And you have to show that you are who you are with ID. So you have two forms of ID. I show you my license, has my picture on it, I show you my tax bill. So you know it's my tax bill. And that's how you have to get a locker. I worked in a company, I know we did a lot of things to outsource to make it easier. It seems like that maybe would be the reason why we moved it to some system where we kind of outsourced the whole thing and we put it to an app. Well, that's allowing the loophole and that's allowing people to circumvent through the process. And that's allowing somebody like me to never move down from 15. Paul, what number are you? I know you.
I think I'm like, I don't know, I'm at the end of the list. I'm waiting.
Yeah, so we live on kind of the same street, maybe you're in the 20s, but so. So again, I don't wanna dump the problem. I called a bunch of towns. To find out what they do. I kind of have a little bit of insight. There was the other attorney that's usually here said, oh, we can't do it. That's really not true. Because towns do have residents only, and towns do have ways where you show up in person to prove who you are. I think those are the two things that have to be done. So that's my request. I'll be happy to work with somebody on it so I can get the bottom of the list before I die.
There's a few things going on here.
Do you remember which towns do residents only?
I don't remember, but I called a bunch of towns. I called Long Branch, I called Seabright, I called Belmar, I called Seagirt.
Time to go and show who you are.
Yeah, most people
Residents only?
Most people have the second part figured out. The second part figured out where you have to prove who you are. They, like as you would when you get a license or, when you go for your real ID.
If you just let me know which towns have residents only, we'll contact them tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a question of you have to have the will to do it.
No, Ray, so
Well, I have the will to do it, just let me know the town.
we do have the will to do it. The second part is premised on the first part. You can't demand a license if you don't demand that it's residents only. So first, we have to find out, can we do residents only? We've been told by the lawyers, as you just mentioned, that we cannot, that,
Homeowners only.
no, we are told that we are custodians of the beach for the state of New Jersey. And we get to charge people to use there, so we are the custodians, but we cannot give Bradley Beach residents preferential treatment. That's what we've been told. I made a note, we're gonna get the attorney's official opinion on this, so I'm not gonna put you on the spot, we'll probably need to do a little research.
Yeah.
But if we can get to that point, that we can limit it to Bradley Beach residents, that would cure a lot of bills, and then it's, to your point, easy to just demand identification.
But, but we would have to make a,
Still do number two without number one.
we would still have
Why?
to make a decision
You don't have to be a resident.
if we
Because
want.
that's how you have to close the loophole. See, right now what's happening is if I decide to move. And you were out of town and you
Yeah.
bought my house, I could transfer my locker to you.
We have in our ordinance, you cannot
Yeah, we
sublet.
just.
Well, you could say whatever you want, but people are doing it.
So how do we catch these people? Because they're not.
Yeah.
Well, if you could let us know who it is, we'll.
But like, how do they do that in Community Pass? Cause I get
How
a
do
thing,
they do
I had a
it? They
locker
do
last
it
year.
because they do it because all they have to do is change their email address.
We have listed names that are
Okay,
on Community Pass.
so we should be able to like, if this,
Yeah.
you know, person had this email address last year and. Anybody that changes their email address, we should be able to compare to last year and just say, is this the same person? Make those people come in and prove who they are.
You have to audit all 600 blockers every
Well, no,
year.
I think only the ones where the email address changed from year to year.
Exactly, where the-
Use the email.
Guys, there's no way, we're policing this as best we can. Michelle Wiley, I talk to her almost daily now. And she's catching people who are doing what you're saying. Now, are we catching everybody? No. But we have a ordinance that says you cannot sublet, you will lose this license. So what we don't say yet is residents only. But we're doing everything we can. Checking a person's driver's license, as Councilman Weber said, we don't even need the license.
Tax bill.
The tax.
Driver, you could have two homes.
Yeah, what do you,
So if people who own homes here, like they might only come here for the summer,
Right.
they should bill on Locker, they pay the same taxes as I do.
Well, right, but so we would have to make the philosophical decision of, do we want residents only? Because that is.
Driver's license, it's their bill, right?
Right, so that's a different thing. I'm more concerned with people transferring it when they're not to.
There are-
And then, just one more thing, I'm really concerned, is there really zero movement? In our, if you're 15th on the list, but so literally 0 people every year give up their locker. And so there's no movement
it
on.
varies by beach.
Okay.
Some beaches move, some don't, but you're right.
Okay.
It's a lengthy process.
Some residents have moved within Bradley Beach and they can't get a new locker where they are currently living. They have to use their old locker, a different location. So there's no consideration whatsoever for the residents. And I remember back in the day when you would, I'm sorry,
No,
John.
but you said none whatsoever, that's really strong, like, that's really.
Eileen, that's actually not true. I'm
Yeah.
aware of one resident that just had to switch for that very reason.
Okay, but if that has been a lifetime, that has been a long-term problem in town. When you talk about coming in person, I remember when you would go out, you would wait in the middle of the winter to get our locker registration. A majority of the people who were there at 7 o'clock in the morning were non-residents.
If we allow them to do that, then they're just doing what's allowed.
That's the
I mean,
point
it's
that-
not like-
We're,
Right, it's
we're,
just- it's
we're
the
gonna
same
move on. from
Yeah,
this.
Right, we can't charge different, like, beach bags fees, I'm just saying, so.
I'm not saying charging, I'm saying doing something for the homeowners and for the residents. Denying them their right to have a locker, but first accommodate the residents.
Eileen, the law might not allow that.
Okay, if-
Ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna move on.
I'll come back and get it.
But we cannot, we cannot we can't give discounts to veterans unless we give it to all veterans in New Jersey. We can't give discounts to school children, other than what's ordinance, but it's all school children. We can't do it for Bradley Beach. We cannot accommodate residents alone unless our lawyers tell us we can. And since I've been on council, we have not been able to distinguish between residents and
But
non-residents.
how about other
No, so.
They are, so people aren't just saying, oh, just go onto my community pass, give me the money and you can have my locker.
Yeah.
Right?
Michelle's
That
doing,
they should make the person come in person to claim that they.
we get all kinds of things, and Michelle catches a handful of people doing just that. But to make every single person come in, people scream because they can't log into community pass.
And so one other quick comment that in some towns, non-residents pay more than residents.
Again, we're gonna move off, right? Because that's not the law as we understand it.
Oh,
But Rick, Mr. Bartolome, we will get back to you though, specifically on that issue of law.
Rick Bartolome, 116 Newark, the Newark concession. I'm sure you may have thought about this, but consideration of reducing the fee that you want to charge. Right now, it's at 25,000. I think since the season has progressed, that it would probably make it more attractive if you lowered it substantially. I'm not gonna give you a number to lower it, but I know last year, I think it was over 30, when the ice cream lady was there. But I think it took like 25, I remember what the license is now, and I think you should remove it, lessen it considerably. I think you get a lot more bidders. Because obviously the 25 didn't work. That's my comment.
That's a good point, thank you. Anyone else with comments or questions? Anyone online? Oh, there's somebody, Dave Moore. Yes, Dave.
Hello, yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so, one quick thing, you travel on Evergreen eastbound, I think the one-way sign, 304 Third.
Thank you.
Okay, when you travel on Evergreen eastbound, the sign, the one-way sign at Hamilton needs to come out to the corner. It's set back too far, and cars will be making that left to go northbound when it's a one-way southbound. And that's the way that the cars on Second are forced to go. So I also think there should be a no left turn on the south side of Evergreen. That's all.
What was that corner again, Hamilton?
It's the corner of Evergreen and Hamilton. Hamilton, right? And then the one-way sign needs to come out further to the corner. So as you're traveling eastbound, you can actually see the one-way sign before you actually commit to the turn. It's set back too far. It needs to come out to the corner like it is on Fletcher, which is a one-way northbound, which doesn't make sense, but it needs to come out to the corner. So you see it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Seeing no other hands raised, I will close public session, the public comments, and move to the next item on our agenda, which I think is executive session.
Yes. We're doing executive session, yes.
Yes, we are. So moving to executive, it is. I'll make a motion that we retire to executive session to cover Hinkson versus Bradley.
Mr. Noble?
Yes.
Ms. Greenblatt?
Yes.
Mr. Nowicki?
Yes.
Mr. Weber?
Yes.
Mayor Guzekowski?
Yes,
Oh.
thank you, everyone.
Peg Paul?